uh, all right. Do a little mapping before we get to yapping. What do we got here? We need more towers. Guess we could do some of these maps. Let's start off with an augury. Can't click this goddamn Valor.
Another corpse to serve me.
Damn, I haven't done an expedition in a hot minute. What do we have? Hexproof is always a good one. Extra chaos. Immune to cold. We can do that to start. Oh, there's a big cluster here. Immune to lightning damage is not ideal. Do this, then do this.
Not on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
My power to win. No.
What do we have? Oh. Oh, what is this? I must have that already.
How you? Death is my
Where are all the monsters?
Bet she not like
Go
Storm.
on.
On with the work.
Mhm. Oh, these are good. Oops.
Death is my power to wield.
Shrine City. Dead end? No.
It's my power to wield.
over here.
Oh, wait. PTSD, what up, man? Welcome in. How you doing? I'm just grinding a little bit before the podcast, chilling, having a pretty mellow day. Hope your day is going good too. Prisoners taking Savage. Oh, I see.
Itching for me to lose another limb, are ya?
Oh, hey, we got a VIP in the chat. What kind of little sad guy is this?
That should make things interesting.
What kind of little sad guy is this? Yo, Extimus, welcome in, man. How the hell are you? Appreciate you stopping in the stream, dude. Send this. Yeah, it was, you know, without fanning out too much, it was kind of crazy to see your comment on my video, man. Been watching your Diablo 2 stuff for a long time. Still waiting for a new Eximus video to drop. Chillin', thanks for watching the vids, dude. Oh shit, nice swap over to Twitch. You know how it is with the chats, super delayed on YouTube. My Discord sounds are not on right now. They're muted. Yeah, of course, dude. No, I've been a big fan of Diablo 2 for a long time. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Tied technically with Path of Exile 2 right now, which is still kind of crazy to say. But this game's hitting. Have you been playing PoE 2 at all, Eximus? What have you been saying? What have you been playing? Which Discord sounds are you talking about? I have all like my notifications like muted and stuff right now for being on streamer mode.
Death is my power to wield.
Oh. Look at this side dancing. Gamed a bit too hard. I have no... Oh, shit. Who gamed a bit too hard? I never game a bit too hard. Well, there was that one time. But we're not going to talk about that. Oh, Extimus gamed a bit too hard. Didn't know if the comments are showing up. Yeah, the comments are showing up. The chat. 24 years of PC gaming does it. Only 24 years, bro? Come on, those are rookie numbers. Oh shit, Eximus, thanks for the follow, man. Appreciate you. I don't know why my follower alerts aren't working. Like I can test them and they'll work. Like, look at this. Welcome. See that? So that was supposed to pop up. So I'm putting. Oh, see, it's not a Discord thing. It's a Twitch thing. I don't know why they're not working though. It's so annoying. Because like when I test it, it works. Like, look.
Yo, new subscriber alert.
This is a subscription test.
They're there. It's just decided not to work. I gotta look into that. Maybe reset it or something.
What is it?
Welcome. Yeah, Eximus, what have you been playing, man? What have you been vibing on? That's a banger? They're all bangers. Literally every single notification's a banger. I hired a professional voice actress, and she did a really good job of doing all my notifications. Nothing, can't play because of carpal tunnel? Fuck, dude. I'm sorry to hear that, bro. I'm guessing it's the right hand or your mouse hand that has that. Yo, Dapper, what's poppin'? Welcome in, bro. How you doing? Good to see you. Mating surgery, still getting a test. Yeah, your mouse hand. Fuck. Can you still play with like a controller? Would a controller be like? I'm sure you've tried everything, but would a controller be better? Okay, you're gonna build your bed and stream, but I'll be here. Okay, good luck with that. Have a good stream and good luck with the bed. I'm stoked to see that when it's done. Controller's alright, but I need that mouse. Yeah, I hear you, man. It'd be so hard to like swap over. But apparently like PoE 2 is really good on the controller. I haven't tried it yet, but what I've heard. 25 years of Diablo 2 blasting. We'll definitely do that. Yeah, it's nice on the controller. Yeah, like there's this guy that I've been watching. He's level 99 on hardcore solo self-found, and he's been doing it all like on PlayStation or Xbox. It's crazy. And he's doing it like efficiently, like really quickly, blasting maps, like faster than me for sure. Especially when I'm streaming. Yeah, well, fuck, bro. I wish you the best of luck with that, dude. I hope that like your surgery goes well if you get that locked in. And hopefully you have a good recovery so you can get back to gaming and stuff. Is there anything you can do to prevent this? 99 is insane. I know, dude. Like he's been blasting every night. You've been hardcore PC gaming since about 2001 on Dark Age of Camelot. Also, thanks for dude play for me, bro. I'm praying. Fingers crossed. Is there like, since you've been learning about it, is there like a way to like prevent this? Like, can you do like stretching or something, or like wear like some sort of protective shit? I don't know. I'm scared. I've been gaming hardcore on PC for not like crazy. Like sometimes I'll play games where you don't use the mouse as much. I feel like when you're playing games like Diablo or like games where you're really actively using your wrist, probably. Yeah, stretches to move the mouse with your arm. Oh, okay. So like turn down the sensitivity on your mouse so that you're moving it more with your arm and not with your wrist. Like kind of like watching like pro like Counter-Strike players, how they play, where they're like using their whole desk. Ah, okay, I got you. I gotta do that because I also like, so I'm my job is a mural artist, so I paint a lot with a spray can. And so I'm using my right hand, I always call it the money maker, dude, because like if that hand gets fucked, like I'm fucked, you know. So I gotta protect the moneymaker, man. I should start doing like hand exercises and stuff. I started rock climbing a couple years ago, and that's like helped me strengthen my like tendons in my arms and stuff.
Give my power.
But yeah, scary. It can also be genetic. Some people never have issues. Yeah, that's totally fair, man, with anything. It's like life is just like a poker hand, dude. Like you just got to play the best you can with the hand you got, you know? Like some people, yeah, you can list off the amount of unfair shit that happens to people. And then some people live their whole lives like unhealthy and crazily like unhealthy and everything, and they're just fine. Wild. Also, make sure to get vitamins like B6 and B12. Get your level checked. Yeah, word. Okay. I've been taking a multivitamin for a while, but I don't know if it has all the right stuff. I've just been like, oh, this will do the trick. This is a multivitamin. But, yeah. Oh, hold on. I gotta ban this guy. This guy's using like special characters to get through my chat filter. Punk ass bitch. Keep taking it, dude. Yeah, for sure. I've just been going through like a move recently, and the move has resulted in me like kind of regressing in like the health department. But yeah, this like even this conversation alone has been enough to help get me inspired more to sort of get back on track with everything. So what have you been doing to keep yourself sort of occupied for fun these days then, if you've been unable to game? That must be like a hard like transition. Like I couldn't imagine just like all of a sudden having to basically stop. I know I've actually met another person. Her boyfriend had the same sort of condition where like he basically had really bad carpal tunnel. He was a big gamer as well, and I think he ended up having to adapt to the controller. Tried to find games to play on the controller, but it's been depressing not being able to use the mouse. Yeah, fuck. What's a good controller game? I feel like Expedition 33 would probably be pretty sweet on the controller. Everyone's been raving about that game. It's not really like my cup of tea. That mouse is my life. Yeah. Don't tell me you've had the same mouse for 25 years, bro. Oh, what the hell? All I imagine is one of those like gray mice that's like aged and turned yellow with like an actual ball like in the bottom of it. Yeah. Mouse and keyboard's goated. We all know that. A Steam controller was nice. You can use it as a mouse, but it doesn't get updates anymore. Oh, what the hell? Oh, because it has like a little slider thing on it, doesn't it? That sort of acts like a mouse. Man, this stuff makes you just like appreciate and try not to take for granted just like your own physical well-being. You know what I mean? Like shit can just like pop up out of nowhere. Yeah, it's got a touchpad. They don't sell them anymore though. Yeah, I guess they're really all in on like the Steam Deck stuff. That probably makes more sense. Yeah, you literally never do, man. And that's the thing. Like, I feel like when I was younger, I used to do so much like stupid shit all the time. And I would never think like, man, like if I got hurt doing that, like I could have really like messed up everything just for like a moment of like fun or enjoyment. And I'm not saying I live my life now with like, complete like intelligent decision making, but It's funny, the older you get, the more so you're like, should I do this? Is it worth like risking like hurting my hand or something or whatever? Me and the lady like to go snowboarding, and even this year I was like, because she broke her wrist last year falling once snowboarding, and I was like, oh my god, like, I don't know. I sound like a boomer now. Jesus. Damn, where y'all snowboard? I like to ski. I'm in Colorado. Oh, hell yeah. That's sick. I actually want to go. I want to visit Denver, man. I have some like homies out in Denver. I'm up in Canada. We're in Ontario. First time snowboarding, you broke your wrist? Oh no. I'm sorry, Dapper. Did you end up going again? My own dumbass fault for throwing a snowball at my friend while going down the hill. Yeah. Me and the lady, like, they gave us a free shot. They were doing like a promotion at the bottom of the chairlift, and they gave us a free shot of like some sort of alcohol they were promoting. And then as soon as you drink the one shot, you get like liquid courage, right? So I like went off of a jump, and I hadn't done a jump in like a long time. I just landed right on my tailbone, dude. And yeah, it hurt really bad. Canadians, hell yeah. Nice, man. Yeah, I love Canada. Love Americans too. I'll have a lot of homies in America. I was actually supposed to visit Denver like this June, but money's a bit tight right now. Yo, Casual Exile, welcome in, dude. Thank you for the follow, bro. Liquid courage, yes. I mean, you can't deny that, like, when you're skiing or snowboarding, having like a nice little shot of like fireball or something like that, it just like, kind of like warms you up a little bit, you know? It makes you feel like all good inside. And then you can send it and do stupid shit. How you doing, Casual Exile? Welcome in, bro. Yeah, drinking and skiing like just goes hand in hand. And then drinking and after ski also goes hand in hand as well. It's definitely a vibe. I'm not a winter person though. Like, I grew up in Canada my whole life. And I grew up like a couple hours north of like Toronto, so it gets pretty cold. Like, I don't know what the temperature would be in freedom units, but like American freedom units. But in like, you know, Canadian maple syrup units, it's like, you know, winters were cold. They were like minus 20, minus 30 sometimes, like when I was a kid. And I never got down with it. Like, sure, there's like a lot of fun stuff you can do. Like, you can go like snowboarding, skiing, like go skating and stuff. But I'm much more of a summer enjoyer for sure. I love like being outside and like the shorts and t-shirt and just like feeling the sun. I think it's got to be the half Asian jeans. Haven't tried it. It's probably cool. It is cool. Yes, I remember seeing you on YouTube for sure. Welcome to Twitch side of things. I think it's better on Twitch for streaming just because of like the YouTube messages are so delayed. I don't know why with Restream. Like, people will like write a message and then they'll feel like I feel like they think I'm ignoring them or something. But it's just because I try to read everything and I can't, I don't see them all the way. Same here. Grew up in Minnesota. Those winters, even there, are harsh. Couldn't imagine much further north. Oh yeah, Minnesota gets bad winters too, man, for sure. I have a buddy who has like a cabin and oh Jesus Christ! Holy boys, we got stuck in the tornado. That was not good. Hold on, let me lock in here. But it's weird, like, winter since I was a kid in Canada, I've gotten progressively... Oh, we got one of these, boys. Let's go. Time to do King of the Mists after this. Yeah, the winters in Canada have gotten progressively warmer. Say what you will, but you know, I think global warming has definitely taken an effect. But last year's winter was so freaking cold for so long, man. It was cold from like November until like April. It was like, can this please end? You've been using Caster Labs? Oh shit. Okay. Is that like a multi-streaming client as well? Similar to like Restream? I'm so new and noob at this streaming stuff. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to find some items right now for a new monk build that I want to try. It's definitely off meta. I was talking about it with my friend off meta Michael last night. We were kind of brainstorming a Chelua monk who uses a bow and then uses the chaos cross or the chaos quiver. I'm putting some items together for that. Like a chat box for you that has YouTube and Twitch in one chat. So Restream has that, and I'm using that right now. It's just delayed. You think Caster Labs is like way more like responsive in terms of like the time to chat? Winters that last for 6 months is crazy, bro. I know, it's like depressing.
Does hope possession now lies dormant?
My perfect like place to live would just be like a cool and comfortable like 15 to like 20 degrees. You could try it. YouTube has it delayed first, but then it goes away, I think. Okay, yeah. I'll give that a shot. I'll look into it. I mean, it's just a chat box. I'm totally fine with like trying different ones to see which one works better. Are you using any software for voice? My voice sounds awful when I record. Oh my god, dude. I literally just bought this new mic like yesterday, so I hope I'm sounding good. If any of you in the chat think I sound good, let me know, because I had this other mic I was using for a while and it was so finicky, dude. It took me forever to like fine tune it to get it to work. And so this one I bought, it was expensive. It's one of those like Shure mics, but it was like a plug in and play sort of thing. It has a bunch of nice features on it. So I think that like take a look at your mic. How are you recording your audio, if I can ask that? It's pretty easy to use. Hell yeah. All right. Sounds good. I will make a note of that. Called again. Caster Labs. Okay. Recently upgraded to a Shure mic and couldn't be happier. Oh, nice. Which Shure mic did you get, dude? You sound great. Oh, thank you. I can do reverb on this too. I will definitely have to bust that out sometime. All right, let's do this. Let's do this, boss. I am currently on tier 3 right now. Yeah, tier 3. So hopefully we don't die. That would be terrible. Yeah, I'm super happy with this mic. Used a HyperX Quadcast, but upgraded to a Shure MV7X. Oh, we have the same mic, dude. Well, mine's the MV7 Plus, but essentially like the same mic. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It took me a little while to get it set up yesterday so that like the noise gate works, because it was picking up like all of my like keyboard and mouse clicks and stuff. And luckily you had a 7-year-old Scarlett 2i2 sitting around so you could use the XLR. Nice, man. Yeah, so like I was going to buy an XLR mic, but I bought this one instead. So this one has XLR and USB. And so when I decide to get the audio interface, I can, sorry, hold on. Let me lock in, boys.
Nothingness approaches.
Yeah, we're good. I hate this fucking place, man. It makes me so anxious. Oh, no, we're good.
The wild one's power is...
Yeah, I want to... So the cool thing about this mic is having XLR and USB. So when I do decide to upgrade to get an audio interface, it'll be just as simple as plugging it in, basically. Bonk. Oh, boys, we got ingenuity. Let's go. That's our third one.
Fate.
Let's go. The interfaces are goated. They are very nice. They are very nice. And I'm totally fine with like down the road investing more into the like audio setup because I'm just such a sucker for like good audio, especially having a podcast. Do you, Eximus, do you use audio like an XLR mic with like a audio interface as well? You recently bought a Mano PD2 Mayo no PD 200. Why can I not read that? I swear I'm not dyslexic, bro. It's good. It's just hard to find the right setting for your voice. But how are you recording it? Casual. That's super nice. I was getting bad EMF interference with your USB mic. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yo, Al, welcome in, man. Thank you. I'm glad the new mic's sounding good. I'm using a Quadcast though because I wanted USB to use a pop filter. I used to have an AT2020 with a Scarlett Solo interface. Oh wow, okay. So another reason why I got this mic, so this mic is the Shure M7 Plus, is because when you plug it in, there's software that like Shure has for this microphone and for other microphones from that brand. And it has a digital pop filter like as well. Like it has auto gain, a digital pop filter, and it also has real-time denoiser as well, all like internal in the mic, like through like software and stuff. Nice, dude. Okay, I'm happy to hear that it's sounding good. I was worried because the other mic that I had was a Rode mic and it was my girlfriend's, and she's been using it for a long time. It's a USB mic, but it's so old that there's no firmware or any software for it, so it's kind of just a plug and play thing. And it was just very like finicky to get sounding good, which is really annoying. Oh, we got a 2920. Damn. Okay, so it's 6:05 right now, guys. The podcast episode starts at 6:30. I'm gonna take a quick washroom break in like 10 minutes, and then hopefully Miso will be ready, and then we'll get into the podcast, guys. What's my girlfriend gonna think if you can go full-time content creation? So she's a streamer. She streams on this website called Bigo Live, which is like, I'm gonna try my best to not talk shit about it, but it's like an Asian streaming platform. It's got its quirks, but she does like pretty well on that, just like chatting and stuff. And so I think she'd be super supportive. Like she's super supportive in like anything I do. Like she was just in the chat. Like you were talking to her. It's Where's Brit. Yeah, no, but I doubt that I'll end up ever. I don't want to say I'll doubt it, but I don't know. Like I would love to do content creation more because I just love it. But I'm so new into it, Eximus. Like I only started like in February, bro. So I don't know what's gonna happen with it. I just love making videos and I love gaming. Korean streamer community is huge in D2. Nice, excited for the podcast. Awesome, man. Happy to have you here for the live portion of it. Casual, you've seen Beagle live? No shot, bro. That support is key in any relationship. Yeah, it's good. Like we both have similar outlooks on what we want to do, and she's a freelancer. I work freelancer. So, and she streams and I'm like starting to stream. So we can kind of like vibe off each other and stuff about everything. I definitely agree though. It's good support to have. Yeah, bro. I just started in February, man. Like this is like, I haven't had a game. So a little bit of an backstory is like, I haven't really had a game that's like, that really inspired me to like make like content for it. Like Path of Exile 2 has been the game that like really inspired me to like be like, yo, I should make a video. Like I should make videos on this. I just love this game so much. Wow, I don't know how people talk and play this game. I'm like trying to figure out where to put this fucking belt for like 20 minutes. Everyone vibes with you, homie? Oh, thank you, man. I vibe with you too. I think you're gonna get I think you're gonna get a lot bigger over time. You getting high views on YouTube. I mean, dude, the Diablo 2 video is a video that I really wanted to make. I really loved that idea, and I've had that idea for a long time. And so I have another idea for a new video that's gonna take a while to make, but I'm kind of leaning more towards like the make one big and good and longer video per month than like a bunch of like smaller videos every week, even though I'm going to be doing the podcast as like frequently as possible, like as maybe every week or every 2 weeks or something. So those will be like kind of more on a constant basis. But in terms of like the content that I want to make, it's stuff that I really like the Diablo video.
Yo, new subscriber alert.
Yo, what the fuck, bro? Thank you, man.
New subscriber alert.
Dude, you're a G. You didn't have to do that, Al. I appreciate you, man.
New subscriber alert. Yo, new subscriber alert.
All right, we got the subscriber alerts working. Yo, thank you, man. Guys. Oh, you guys have already you guys are good chatters. Damn, you've already all thanked him for the sub. Legends. Got some straight up legends in the chat. All right, we're going to do one more map. Yo, thank you again, Al. I appreciate you, homie. It's been so good seeing you like blasting on PoE 2 consistently as well. Like you're one of the few people left, you know? Let me see those gloves. These gloves are decent. They're definitely decent. Over 2020 on index. Double socket. I'm really looking for the bleed magnitude. The bleed magnitude. What are those things called? Socketables. Talismans. Wow. Yeah. Or there's those new runes that they just released that give you 15% ailment magnitude. Real nice, good corruption. Yeah, dude. I got lucky with these. Like double socket for any like armor is good. This is my belt now. Pretty decent too. I wish, dude, you can get like 25 to 30% increased energy shield on your belt. Oh my lord, dude. I need that. Courtesan Manon's Rune of Cruelty. There you go. Dapper. This guy's like a PoE 2, like walking PoE 2 like database, dude. I haven't found a single like new rune yet though. They must be like super rare. I don't know if you guys have like found any. What have you guys found like so far? Like have you found any of the new talismans? Have you guys found any of the new runes yet? Slapped it right into your build as soon as the patch came out. Oh, damn, dude. Double. Are you using like double of those in your gloves? That's sick. Yeah, that's the SSF problem, bro. I have to find these fucking things. You're too scared to value your gloves? What gloves do you have? Are they also Hands of Wisdom in action? Oh, that's a big pack size. Magic pack size. Good luck, brother. Yo, thanks, Al. Appreciate the subs, man. Thank you again, dude. You're now number 3 on the all-time leaderboard. Is attack, crit bonus, max attack speed, high energy shield, much need letting rise. Yeah, those are nice. I gotta show you these other gloves I have. These backup gloves. I was still surprised at how good Hands of Wisdom in action are. Like they give me so much damage. It's nuts. I'll show you after this map. Yeah, that's the tough thing with gear in this game. Like if you mess up something, especially if it has attributes on it when you're needing it to use your skills, it's like, man, it feels bad to like corrupt something and have those mods get taken off. Like the resistances, I understand are annoying, but they're definitely like easier to configure. I think it's like the attribute points that really is like a struggle sometimes. Like I have the perfect amount of int to where like level 19 gems or 18 gems that I'm using, like my int gems. And it's really hard to like replace my gear now because I need to have that specific level of int. Yeah, I'm running a Fizz only bleed build on Gemling, so it's hard to replace. Yeah. Job's done. I'll be playing PoE 2 while listening. Hell yeah, dude. Happy to have you lurking. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I miss Gemling, dude. I played Gemling so much in 0.1. That was like my main ascendancy for like the whole, not the whole part of like early access release, but a large portion of it, man. I loved it. Ice Strike, double Herald Chain. Ooh, so fun. Look at this guy. He's been following me for ages. Oh, what up, Crowy? Hey, Crowy.
Don't run. We're just playing. Yes. Show me what you've got.
Oh, thank you. Man, the first... remember fighting this boss for the first time on how cool the multiple stages was? And it is still. Oh. Unique strong box. Let's go. Oh, shit. Almost time, boys. Got to wrap this up quick. Man, the addition of like unique strong boxes was so good as well in Dawn of the Hunt. Love it. One of the best pieces of content they added for sure. Remember how bad strong boxes were in 0.1? Like, it's the complete opposite now. They're like goated. I'm all in on strong boxes and shrines. Wait, it dropped me one Regal shard? Okay, I take it back. Strong boxes aren't goated. Strong boxes were just part of the environment in 0.1. Would run by every single one. Yup, I click them now, for sure. They're very clickable now. Oh god. We got hit by something. Where's this fool? Yeah, they're very clickable now, for sure. I almost always like regal them too. Like you just get your currency back every time. Shrines are also so freaking good now. Are any of you guys in the chat playing the 3.26 launch on Friday? You're on the fence? All right, explain to me why you're on the fence. I'm curious. All of these remnants are trash. Except for this, I guess. So many things in PoE 1. It's just daunting. Bro, I feel you, man. The visuals are kind of huge for you. I have a buddy who's gone back and started playing it a little bit right now, and he said that the visuals aren't that bad. But PoE 2 is just looks so crisp. Like when you look at them side by side, they 100% like PoE 2 looks better. Well, like objectively speaking, like PoE, like the original one isn't a bad looking game. Probably not. Played PoE 1 for years. I can't go back to point and click. True. Okay, so the controls are the real, like, the real reason why you can't go back. That's totally fair. It's gonna be hard. Like, I love WASD so much. I'm cooking up something, boys, for 3.26 for my new video that I want to work on. I don't want to give away too much yet. But I'm excited to go into Path of Exile 1, which I will be playing as I'm blind as possible to the game. I've never played it. I've never beaten the game. I think I've maybe played it for like 10 hours. So I'm just going to essentially say that I've never played the game. Yeah, the moving while casting. I feel like the combat in PoE 2 just feels so good, right? I don't love that layout for this ritual. Like, it just feels so fluid. But yeah, I'm going into playing PoE 1 completely blind. Like, I haven't even looked at the secret, what's happening in the Secrets of the Atlas expansion or anything. And I'm just gonna see if I can figure it out, going fully blind without looking into anything. The only knowledge of Path of Exile that I have, yes, SSF, of course. The only knowledge of PoE that I have is playing PoE 2 for 1,000 hours. That's it. Like at PoE 2, I'm not a bad player. Like I'm, you know, I've been top 100 in HCSSF, like all of Dawn of the Hunt. But I just don't know how much the knowledge of Path of Exile 2 will translate over into PoE. There's so much more stuff in PoE. You don't like melee in PoE 1? Really? I feel like I see everyone playing the same class on PoE 1. It's always like a guy like hopping around like constantly, like a warrior or something. I don't know what ascendancy that is. But I feel like every time I watch like someone playing PoE 1, which is like not that much, but they're always like playing the same class or using the same skills. Is Leap Slam just like meta in that game? Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, we're going to do this last ritual. Not this one, because this one's kind of rippy. Then go take a quick bathroom break. I have like PTSD from these plants to the point where like even though I know they don't do as much damage anymore, I just can't get hit by them. I never want to get hit by them.
Death is my power to wield.
There's no cooldown on movement skills, so you can leap slam forever. Oh, okay. So that's why everybody's just leap slamming all the time. I got you. That's pretty crazy. Same with blink too, then? Like you can blink and leap slam? Give me an omen of whittling, please. I need it. I need it. Damn it. I defer any of this stuff. Is any of this stuff good? No. It's all about making it from one side of the map to the other in like 2 seconds. Yeah. That's essentially what it looks like. I'm very excited to explore this game because I can't deny that I've enjoyed myself so much in Path of Exile that it's made me want to give PoE 1 another try, even though I honestly didn't really give it a try to begin with, but yeah, so we will see. I will report back, probably crying about how I've ricked my character. That's why you're on the fence. So did you play a lot of PoE 1, Dapper? I'm gathering that you did. Much more than myself, anyway. The amount I've had in PoE 2 on... You have 2 hours. Okay, dude. So my video is going to resonate with yourself for sure then. It'd be funny to like talk about it afterwards. Because yeah, we'd be going into it virtually with the same sort of knowledge then. The last time I played PoE 1 was in 2017, which was 8... Bro, it was 8 years ago. Like, that's insane. Actually, there's a cool down, but you don't feel it. Actually, zooming feels great at times. Shield charging nonstop feels good. Yeah, like, it looks fun. It looks fun to just zoom around the map. Like, I can't deny that. Yeah, you think you picked it up with your cousin like 2015? Damn, bro. It's like a couple years after it came out. Or like a year after it came out. We were such different gamers back then, you know? All right, guys, I will be right back. I'm just going to use the washroom. And then we will give Miso a call and then get the podcast episode started, all right? Be right back.
Hello?
All right, guys, I am back.
Okay, welcome back.
Whoa, I'm on Discord with a random stranger. Hello, random stranger.
Oh my gosh, are you streaming?
Dude, I didn't even realize I was in the Discord call when I started streaming. I've been in here by myself.
Wow. Okay, get out of here, you silly goose.
Bye. That was not me, so guys. What did I miss in the chat here? 2015 good times? Bro, can't believe 2015 was that long ago. Still waiting for Miso to hit me up. Oh, here we go. He says give me a few. Let's just mess around in the stash for a little bit. Who's ready? Maybe do some shopping. Totally planned that little Discord call bit, guys. Totally just a planned bit in the stream, okay? I've got everything locked in. Yo, the tiered breach rings from... Dude, I know. I've been getting so many of them. I saved up about 10 breach stones before the patch came out. And I've been running T4 Zesh like constantly. And yeah, the rings have been nuts. I haven't got like a super good one yet though. Like I had one that was decent. Like this one's not terrible. But my rings are not bad. Like I have this one, T1 cold damage. Then like the triple res with the chaos res, dex, accuracy. I'm definitely going to chaos this one when I get another omen. And then this one is pretty good too. Lightning damage, fizz and lightning. It's tier 1 fizz as well. Dex, tier 1 dex. Oh, and then this actually solved my mana issues too because I was running low on mana. So even getting 16 per kill is pretty nice. And then this is my amulet. It's not amazing, just double res plus 2 all proj. The good thing here is we have the 50% energy shield roll, all 47. I boosted up with the catalysts. So yeah, our jewelry game is decent, like decent on this character, but it could be better. Like I would like to get some, especially because I'm using ingenuity. Yeah, like the rings are pretty good for like hardcore SSF. I think that for this one, obviously, you want to get a better base. Like it'd be way better on like a amethyst base or even like another resistance base. But all my resistances are capped right now, so we're chilling on that. And then yeah, for the rest of the gear, I've been really trying to upgrade this chest, like this body armor, to get over 1,000 evasion and like 400 energy shield. But I also need life a lot and resistances. Yeah, the cast speed is oof. I know, dude. Like the ring is really good. It's just the base that sucks. All right, here we go. If I could link you my chess piece I slammed earlier this league. Dude, I need to add you as a friend after this. Yo, Miso, what's up, man?
Yo, hello, hello.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing very well. I'm doing very well. I'm going to share my screen with you. And that way you can see the podcast interface.
Sure.
And then we can just adjust it to make sure that everything is good. So I will share that with you now. Just make sure to mute the stream. Because you will get an echo.
Sure.
All right. Let me just adjust myself here really quick. And how does that look on your end? Are you happy with that? Can you see it?
I cannot. It says it's paused. I mean, I could just hop on your stream real quick and take a look.
Okay, sure. I will end the screen share. I think it looks pretty good. I could center you a little bit more. No, I think it's good.
Yeah, looking good.
Looking good? All right, sweet. I'm going to do the cheesy YouTube intro in a second here, and we will get started.
For sure. Do it.
All right, sweet. Guys, just a quick audio check. How does he sound? How do I sound? Miso, if you want to just say a few words just to get your audio sort of in the space.
Hello. Testing. Hello.
You both sound beautiful. Okay, he sounds great on my end as well. Awesome. If we're good on audio, then we will get started.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right, hitting record, and we are getting going.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Passive Tree Podcast, a podcast dedicated to talking about life, Path of Exile 2, and everything in between. I'm your host, Blazeworks TV, and tonight on episode 9, we are joined by a fellow PoE2 creator and streamer. Tonight, we have Miso X Shiru. Welcome on, and how the heck are you doing, man?
Thanks for having me, man. Doing well. I mean, it's usually I'm not really doing much around this time in terms of like, I guess outside of my own editing, YouTube, whatever. So it's a lot brighter in my room than people are normally used to, probably. But doing good. Just woke up an hour or two ago, and then ate some food, and now I'm here.
Right on, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to sit down and be able to chat with you. And I know that you said your sleep schedule is a little bit different, so I'm glad we could make this work.
Yeah, it's I go to sleep at like 5 or 6 a.m. or something like that every day. So
oh wow, so you're
late.
locked into like the nocturnal like streaming schedule right now.
Yeah, it just ends up working out better for my life, and just like for stuff I can like actually do stuff in the afternoon and do things I need to do, like get a haircut or see the doctor or something like that. Whereas if I were normally streaming during this time, I'd have to like take a day off to be able to do that.
Totally. Well, I mean, as long as that works for you, I mean, that's great. So let's dive right into it. We're going to get started with a classic first question, a classic passive tree question. So give me your first introduction into gaming. Describe it to me. What were you playing as a kid? All that type of fun stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I started gaming pretty early in my life, probably like around like 2-3 years old. Even probably around the time when I started forming memories, I guess. But around the time I recall, and my parents tell me that my favorite game was Doom. Around like three
Nice.
years old, definitely wasn't a probably not a game that a kid should be playing, but my cousin who was in high school at the time was really into gaming, and he set me up, and like whenever I went to his house, we would play games, and Doom was one of the games that he liked playing. So I ended up playing it, and I at home, luckily, at some point, I don't even remember when we did end up having, or my family did have a PC. We did have a computer, so we would have like MS DOS, and I like go on like the command prompt and like type in the source for like the game, and like learn how to do all that and launch things from that. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And ever since then, I've been a gamer, like pretty much since I was a wee lad.
That's amazing. I love that. Playing Doom, Doom is a classic. It's like kind of shaped the FPS genre ever since it came out. And it's funny, back in the day, I feel like our parents, I had similar experiences with other games, but our parents weren't really aware of like the rating system for games. And so I remember playing as a kid, like I had an N64, that was my first console. And one of the first games I ever played was like Mortal Kombat. And I remember my parents just rented it for us. They saw like the cover, they thought it looked cool. They had no idea that like we were ripping each other's spines out and like turning each other into like chunks of bones and stuff. So shout out to the parents for being oblivious to these beautiful games that we got to play as kids.
Oh yeah, there was definitely they were not aware. They were not aware at all. I mean, they probably saw at the end of the day, and they were like, whatever. It's whatever. He'll be fine.
I love that. So were there any other like monumental games that you can sort of list off for me in terms of things that really left an impression on you as a kid or as an adult?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially as a kid, like specifically, I grew up playing a lot of RTS games. So StarCraft, Warcraft, were games that I spent a lot of time playing. I also eventually got a console for my cousin, his old SNES. So Super Mario World was a huge one, and still leaves a huge feeling of nostalgia for me whenever I think about it. It's probably my favorite Mario game, my favorite Nintendo game of all time. Street Fighter. I played a lot of fighting games as a kid as well. Just like all types of games growing up were, a part of my life. But really, I would say the common thread that I had as a kid, and again, it was largely because my cousin was a huge influence in my life and he played a lot of games. We ended up playing a lot of RTS games together. Warcraft, especially Warcraft 3, Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne. Like we spent a lot of hours playing that. Every time I would go to my cousin's house like when I was like in elementary school, probably like every day, and then eventually in middle school, like maybe like once or twice every week. And when I was in middle school, we would have a LAN party and do Warcraft 3 LAN parties together all the time and just play.
I love that. Dude, we share very similar childhood experiences. I played a lot of RTS2. StarCraft was like the first game I ever played like online. I think I was like maybe like 9 or 10 years old. And we did LAN parties all the time with my cousins as well. We would all bring our computers to one person's house, and we would all have them set up and play like StarCraft custom games like Tower Defense and Nexus Wars, and moving into Warcraft 3 and stuff like that, and started playing Dota, as a Warcraft 3 mod back in the day. So those are the good old days, man. Those were the good old days for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And we didn't quite get into the custom games with I mean, I would play them by myself every now and then, but when we were doing our LAN parties and stuff, we would just kind of hit up the good old normal RTS strategy part.
For sure. Did you ever end up playing StarCraft 2 or any other RTS games like Age of Empires and stuff like that?
I mean, yeah, I ended up playing Age of Empires, StarCraft 2. Honestly, we played like a lot of just like random RTSs. Like there was one that I really liked. It was called like Realm Wars or something like that. I don't remember, or something like that. It was like Realm something. And I also played a lot of Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, I think was another one. Just like I even played like some weird like animal RTS where it was like animals against I don't know. We played all types of RTSs, so everything.
I love it. RTS is something that was so popular back in the day, like, obviously popularized by games like, Command and Conquer, StarCraft, all those types of things. But
Mhm.
it is a genre. I wouldn't say it's quite dead, but it's very close to being in the grave, I feel like. And it's kind of sad, because yourself, myself, we really like got our start kind of on that in that genre. So do you ever think that RTS will make like a comeback?
Maybe if they simplify it. The problem is at the end of the day, RTS is a very high skill ceiling game, and like most of the thing is, I feel like back in the day, right? Because we grew up at a time where online wasn't really a thing. Like at least when we first started playing games, playing online, playing against other people wasn't really a thing. So like it really didn't matter what our skill was. We could just put on like a game, play bots, play against easy bots, and we'd still have a good time. But these days, everything's so online, and like we're all so connected, and we can see all these YouTubers, all these Twitch streamers, everybody just like, oh wow, I'm like X rank, Y rank, I'm doing all these crazy things, right? So it ends up being like, in a sense, it's kind of sad that this is the case, but it kind of ostracizes a lot of people who just want to play a game casually because they just don't have the ability to. And RTS games are one of those types of games where, like, hey, if you're against somebody who just knows what they're doing, you're probably not going to be doing very well. You're not going to have a good time. So unless they find a way to like simplify it and make it like more accessible, kind of like what like I would say Street Fighter did a little bit with fighting games with modern controls, and like what Riot's trying to do with their fighting game. It's unless somebody basically takes up the flag and is able to try to make RTS games more accessible to the common person, like the non-hardcore gamer, I think it might be really hard to make a comeback. Because I mean, honestly, even for me, right? I was never good at RTSs, so like if they came out with another RTS today, I probably wouldn't play much of it because I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna get my ass kicked just trying to play and have fun.
I totally agree with you, man. Like back in the day, obviously, there wasn't like a really big emphasis on efficiency, on build orders, on strategy. There wasn't, countless YouTube channels. Like esports in terms of like RTS was a very niche thing, only really happening in like Korea at the time. And so, yeah, when we were playing those games, we never were worried about like, oh, we need to build our barracks next, and then we need to build our,
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z. And now it's like I feel like there's a certain sense of like anxiety for to perform at like the highest level in terms of like getting your APM up, getting your build orders locked in. And it kind of changed the vibe of RTS. Definitely for the worse, I would say. You can't really play it like casually anymore. It's definitely more of like a sweaty genre. There was a game that looked promising, but I haven't really kept up with it called Stormgate. And I know it was made by ex StarCraft and like Warcraft 3 developers. And they had that sort of mission in mind where they wanted to try and simplify it a little bit for like the casual player. But
Mhm.
I don't know if it ever can go and regress back to that anymore because we've gotten to that point now where like RTSs are, a time investment. You have to practice, you have to learn these things. And it's like you said, if you don't learn that stuff, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, and I mean, just looking up Stormgate on YouTube on Google, first Reddit thread pops up. Stormgate might be over.
Yeah.
So it's probably
Yeah,
not a
it's
good
too
look.
bad. Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad. So moving onward, so now that you're not a child anymore playing Doom on your parents' computer, how do you sort of find your balance between your life's responsibilities, your gaming, your content creation, and everything in between?
I mean, honestly, it's changed a lot in the past year and a half, I'd say, because before a year and a half ago, I wasn't like doing content really at all, and that's something that I've always struggled with, just like balancing like content plus like responsibilities. But I mean, gaming wise, right? Gaming wise specifically, I've always been able to balance it because I, for the most part, lived at home. So a lot of it was just like, hey, I finished work, I'm done. All right, time to get to gaming, right? I didn't really have too many responsibilities outside of just like my own stuff. But then about a year and a half ago, I left my previous role, and then due to unforeseen circumstances, sadly, during the pandemic, and I took made the decision that I'd try taking on content creation full time. And since then, I've basically poured everything, every ounce of my free time into content creation and gaming. So there's actually pretty much zero balance in my life right now. It's pretty much all just content creation. So maybe the answer to the long story short to answer is that I can't find balance and I don't have balance.
Well, I mean, I can speak to that. So I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I think that content creation as a job is very entrepreneurial in the sense where you get what you put into it, right? And so it's hard to necessarily find that balance when the more that I do, the more like sort of gain or traction or viewers or subscribers, all of these metrics, these numbers are coming into play, right? And so I think it's
Mhm.
important to sort of, for me anyway, um, I do like art as a full-time job, but I would still play, like I would still do art no matter what, even if I didn't get paid to do it. And I think that's the same with gaming too, right? Where it's like we love
Mhm.
gaming so much, you can turn it into a career or a job, but at the end of the day, like even if you weren't doing that, you'd probably still be playing games anyway for fun. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
100%.
yeah. But that balancing act, it's a tough thing to do. And I think it's always such a fascinating question to ask because everyone's sort of in their own stage of finding that. And I know you will too, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
For sure, for sure. But keep grinding, bro. It's been sweet watching. Like even since I've like just been introduced to your stuff recently, like I think you've grown to like over like I don't know 2,000, 2,500 subs in like the last like month or something like that. Like it's been sweet.
Yeah, yeah, it's been nice. The Path of Exile community has been very welcoming and like, has been very supportive of my content. So I'm really, really happy that people are resonating with my content. And I just keep trying to come out with stuff that's, my current viewers will enjoy and then also try to reach out and get more viewers. It's definitely very different from the content I made, even before I started streaming Path of Exile and doing Path of Exile content. So it's been a big shift and like I've been having a good time.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm a super new content creator, but like getting into the Path of Exile 2 community at like, for the last like 4 months, it's been an amazing experience, honestly. Like, I've been introduced to like such lovely people, yourself, and like, some of our other like, homies and stuff like that. So it's been very, very cool. I wanted to ask you, so which game did you start making content for, and whenabouts was that?
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about like when I did content full time, it was Lost Ark. It was an MMO called Lost Ark, Korean MMO. I had been following the game since 2013, and have been basically waiting for it to come out since then. And then when it finally came out, I just got absolutely sucked into it and started playing it so much. And it came out in 2022, I think. So I played the game a ton and really enjoyed the game, loved it. And then when I did end up swapping to content creation full time, I ended up making content for Lost Ark because at the end of the day, Korean MMOs are a very small, tight knit, niche community. Lost Ark itself got really widespread popularity when it first came out, but like I think it was like over 1 million on Steam concurrents, and it's still probably one of the top 10 like best launches out of every game on Steam. But at the end of the day, not everybody is built for Korean MMOs, and Korean MMOs are not for everybody. And honestly, Korean MMOs aren't even designed for us for the most part. A lot of times, they're designed for the Korean audience, and that audience wants a lot of things that are very different from the audience here. So I ended up being like, you know what? There's not that many content creators in this space. There's a lot of room to be filled, basically, lots of gaps to be filled. And I ended up going and trying to my best to fill out a lot of those gaps and ended up being one of the, probably one of the bigger, probably definitely the biggest YouTuber, which isn't saying much, but one of the biggest content creator, or at least most well-known content creators in the space at the time. But if you're talking about just like content creation in general, I mean, I've been trying to get into content creations even since like high school, and I just didn't even know it. Like, uploading like let's plays for like Pokemon or like guides for like Maple Story and things like that.
Okay, yes. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I have a guest on the podcast, I always do a little bit of background research, go through their, oldest videos, look at what they were making back in the day, and I saw a lot of Maple Story videos, which is obviously another Korean MMORPG. I would love to follow up with. So you mentioned that the Korean MMORPG or these MMORPGs are designed for a Korean audience. What did you mean by that?
So the culture here versus in the West versus a culture in Asian cultures, and even more specifically, maybe Korean or Chinese audience, is very, very different. I think everybody can come to, I guess, a consensus on like grindy games. Not everybody's going to like it, but the thing is, I do think that even in the West, there's a lot of people who are looking for these grindy games. Heck, Path of Exile is a very grindy game. We go in there, we kill mobs over and over and over and over and over, and day in, day out, right? And it's the same thing. It's the same action. We go into a map, kill monsters, go out, leave, go back in. It's literally just a grinding game, grinding gear games, kind of, But that's not the part that I would say is very, not very acceptable for a Western audience. The part that's not very acceptable for a Western audience and pretty much comes in the territory of any Korean MMO is pay to win. Every Korean MMO is pay to win. Now, Chrono Odyssey, which is a new MMO that's coming out very soon, or at least they're coming in beta soon, they have said that they're not doing pay to win. We'll see about that. But pretty much in the past, Korean MMOs, every single one of them has been pay to win. And as a result, there's a lot of time-gated stuff, FOMO. There's a lot of things that make it so that you are kind of, basically, your hand is forced, or at least they try to guide your hand towards paying for the game. And that is a huge turnoff for the Western audience. And because of that, I really just think that the majority of Korean MMOs, if not all of them at the moment, definitely all of them at the moment, end up being very niche games.
Yes, I was waiting for the term pay to win to come up, and I think that that's obviously one of the biggest determining factors for being accepted in the West. You're absolutely right. There is sort of this cultural difference when it comes to the tolerance of pay to win. And I've played MapleStory. I played Lost Ark when it came out. I thought it was fantastic until you get to sort of that time-gated stuff. You get to sort of the pay for convenience stuff. And then you think, oh, damn, like, I was really enjoying the experience up until, you get to this point. I never tried Throne and Liberty, but I know that there are similar systems in play there as well. I've looked at Chrono Odyssey. It looks amazing. The fact that they've come out at the gate and said that they're not going to do pay to win is interesting. We will see. Do you think that, and this is sort of hypothesizing stuff, but do you think that for Korean MMO developers, it would almost be better to let that stuff exist in the Korean server or in the Korean realm and then have sort of a different sort of design philosophy for the Western realm? Or do you think that that would cause too much of a disruption in the game?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of a deep question, because here's what I think. So when Korean MMOs, for the most part, get published in the West, they usually find a Western publisher, like with Amazon Game Studio for Lost Ark, and you could even say, and even with MapleStory, Nexon America is not the same as Nexon Korea. So they have publishers here that are here to try and make the monetization better for the West. But sadly, just making monetization better is not the solution, and you can't solve the problems with these pay-to-win Korean games, because in an essence, I always say it this way. Korean MMOs are designed as their systems, and everything is designed from the ground up to take money from your wallet, rather than what I would say is what the way that I think should be done, where you design great systems for the game, right? And then you find ways to put monetization around those systems. They start the game by designing monetization systems and systems that will go along with the monetization, and then design the game around that. So a good example of this is MapleStory 2, which was another game that I played. They ended up being no pay to win, zero pay to win whatsoever. Just play, buy skins. That's all you can do, right? And what ended up happening is, well, you got all the time gating issues. You got all the RNG issues for upgrading your weapon and gear. You have all these systems that were built in the game designed for a pay to win game, but then you strip all that pay to win out, but you don't add any solutions to it. Then you end up with a game with a bunch of problems, because at the end of the day, pay to win is just a bunch of problems that were pay to win is there to solve problems, right? And those are problems that were introduced in order to make people pay for the game. So if you have a bunch of problems in the game, you bring pay to win, that's a solution. But if you take the pay to win out, then you just end up with a game that has a lot of problems and no solutions. So I actually think that MapleStory 2 would have been much more, they would have lasted a lot longer if they actually had some form of pay to win in it, as opposed to none. Now, the thing is, the reason why you can't just like and the solution to this, in my opinion, and this might not be the case, but I think that one of the main issues is that when Korean MMOs are published in the West, the publishers have zero ability for the most part to make any changes in the code. It's like very minimal, right? But they can't influence systems at the core. And because of that, it ends up being like, regardless of what you do, you can't take the pay to win out because unless you just remove the problems of pay to win, you can't, the game will die. And then if you keep the pay to win in, then it's a pay to win game. So it's kind of a lose lose situation unless, I think that the Western publishers are able to kind of like mold the game in a way that they think is fit for a Western audience down to like the system level.
Yeah, no, that I think you're absolutely right. The very deliberate design decisions that result in pay to win being the solution to these problems is something that I think would have to be reconfigured in order to be successful in the Western audience. If they had just made two different versions of Lost Ark, for instance, or two different versions of Throne and Liberty or something like that, that one was for Korea and then one was for, Western market, I think they would have had very different stories to tell and how successful they were. I mean,
Yeah.
look at a case study for the most successful MMOs that exist currently. Like one is World of Warcraft, one is Final Fantasy 14. Both of them are just subscription based models. They both have the highest concurrent player bases. They've had the highest concurrent player bases for the longest time, and they've made the most money out of all of the other MMOs. Like, I think that if developers sort of looked at that as sort of a recipe for success, it's like what you said. They just designed really good systems that made the players want to keep playing the game, and by default, they have to keep playing the game. They're paying monthly, so yeah, it's just interesting. I feel like those types of games were very much designed to get the bag quickly, but not ever be designed for longevity. What do you think?
Yes, in a sense, especially on the West, but definitely in Korea, it's a little bit different. Like Maple
Mm.
Story still is a top 5 game. Like Lost Ark is still a top 5 game. Maple Story has been around for 20 years and it's still a top 5 game and has been pay to win the entire time. And there's actually a big thing that happened because there's this thing called I don't know if you're familiar with it in Maple Story. It's called Reboot Server, which is pay to win completely stripped out. Zero pay to win, very popular here in the West. If Reboot didn't exist, the game would be dead here. But in Korea, players actually revolted and said, why do you have Reboot? These people are here not paying for the game, getting all these advantages. Meanwhile, we're over here suffering, having to pay the game. Get rid of Reboot. That was their mindset.
That's crazy. I mean,
And-
that just
and they got
showcases
rid of
the
Reboot.
cultural differences, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Like speaking of Maple Story, do you think that I know we're sort of like in the realm of Korean MMOs. I love it. I love talking about all this stuff. But I wanted to ask you. So I commented on your video where you sort of highlighted that Maple Story Classic, or I'm not sure what the exact name is, but essentially something that we've all wanted for a really long time. Something that was, I believe, a bannable offense if you wrote on the Nexon forums, we want Maple Story Classic. They would actually ban people for doing that back in the day. Now that they've come full circle and are releasing it, I'm not sure if it's in Korea and the West or just Korea or how they're going to do it. But do you think that we're going to find the same sort of like pay to win mechanics that we found back in like 2007, 2008 in Maple Story Classic? Or do you think it's going to be sort of more of a reboot style?
So I personally think it's going to be more of a reboot style. And this mainly comes from the fact that Nexon America has really split off from Nexon Korea in the sense that we're still getting a lot of stuff like in Maple Story specifically. They get a lot of stuff from Korea, but a while back they had this initiative called Go West. And that actually happened when Korea decided to get rid of Reboot. Because over here, like I said, if we didn't have Reboot, nobody would play the game. So at that point, they were like, you know what? You know what we need to do? We need to have this initiative called Go West. We're going to have a specific director for the Western version of Maple Story. And then also we're going to give developers, like we're going to hire a ton more developers for Nexon America. And since then, the game has been heading towards a much more positive direction. And the game, if you look on Steam, actually, the game has been growing in population, which pretty much never happens for any MMOs. So because of that, I believe at least, crossing my fingers in my heart of hearts, that they will do right by the players because they actually have a team who now understands what the Western players want and actually have the development power behind it to develop the game in a way that makes sense for our version of the game and our community. And I'm not sure if they're doing it for Korea. All I know is that um it was for a 20th anniversary live stream for, I think, global specifically here in the West. So I don't think they announced a classic for Korea. It's just for the West.
Okay, interesting. I mean, let's think about it this way. When we were playing MapleStory back in the day, pre-Big Bang, all that I don't know how long ago you started playing it. I probably played it
I started
like
playing
20,
since
like
the
beta or
beginning.
something like that. Yeah, the very beginning. Okay. Back in those days, I was doing chores every week so that I could get NX cash. And now I'm a grown adult with a job and I can afford to buy as much NX cash as I want to. And I think they're very conscious of the fact that the people that are playing, the target audience for MapleStory Classic is people like yourself and myself, probably who are grown up with the game, but now have a lot more expendable income to be able to spend on whatever we want. So there is sort of that like allure, like, oh, like we could have a lot of things in the cash shop that could, make us a lot of money. But here's the thing, dude. If like the game is pay to win, we're not gonna want to spend money in the game and play it. But I will, if it's not pay to win, spend a lot of money on cosmetics, all that type of stuff. Like, stuff that's not affecting my like skill in the game, but MapleStory was such a social game. It was a game of expression as well. You spent a lot of time just hanging out with your friends, doing party quests, hanging out in the free market and stuff like that. And during that time, you wanted to sit on a cool chair and look cool. So they're gonna make money either way. It's like a cash cow, and I can't believe they haven't like done it sooner. You know what I mean?
Honestly, the crazy thing is, if you think about it this way, Maple Fest is is a convention that happens every single year here in Los Angeles, and literally the game is like, it's still popular, but it's definitely not like World of Warcraft, Blizzard, whatever, all those levels. And yet they are able to have a convention every single year that sells out completely. That's how strong the MapleStory IP is.
100%, dude. Me and my girlfriend have MapleStory tattoos. Like we love the game so much. we both like bonded over that when we first like started dating and stuff like that. So we would be there if we could. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing MapleStory Classic. We'll definitely have to chat about that more when that game comes out. I definitely signed up for the beta and stuff like that. Let's move on to ARPGs. So describe to me sort of your introduction to the genre. Which was your first ARPG that you ever played? And when abouts was that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I've played ARPGs before this. Like I've played like various there's like maybe some like random Marvel ARPG on the console, like in the mid 2000s, or like some random like basically ARPGs have been around for so long, and like many people have adopted it into their games. So I'm sure I played ARPGs at some point, or at least some version of an ARPG. But if we're thinking about the core type of ARPGs, right? Like your Diablos, your Path of Exiles, my first foray into ARPGs was actually pretty late into my life. I started playing ARPGs for the first time with Diablo 3. I did not ever experience Diablo 2 because my parents never bought me games. Actually, even though I played a lot of like StarCraft, Warcraft, and all that stuff back then, it was all through the Seven Seas, and it was through my cousin as well. So he never played Diablo. So as a result, I never played Diablo. So I didn't get into ARPGs until Diablo 3 in like 2011, 2012, whatever, when that came out. And ever since then, I have fell in love with the genre.
Right on. I feel like it's interesting. Not a lot of people have had their first foray into ARPGs be Diablo 3. A lot of people, you'll ask them, and they'll say, oh, it was like Diablo 1 or Diablo 2. So I think it was actually good for you to get into Diablo 3 before Diablo 2, because it wouldn't have like tainted your opinion of Diablo 3 like it had tainted so many other players, because you know how it is. We're constantly comparing. You can see it now in the Path of Exile 1 to Path of Exile 2 community. People who played PoE 1, some of them don't like PoE 2 for whatever reason, because it's different, right? And Diablo 3 was very different from Diablo 2 for a lot of different reasons, even coming down to like changes within like the company, like Blizzard and stuff like that. So how did you enjoy like Diablo 3 as being like your first like ARPG?
Oh, I loved it. It was so much fun. I remember just like very vividly me and my friends, we were in like, Discord. Well, at the time, was it Discord? I don't even remember what we were using at the time, but we were in call together. And I think it was Skype. Yeah, it was Skype. We would sit there on Skype together and just play together in a party of like 4 and just spend all day playing the game together. It was so much fun. This was like even when they like originally when it was like super hard and like had the auction house and stuff like that. I just had so much fun with it. And like it was definitely, I don't know, very much like I love this genre and I love this type of game. I will continue playing this game for a very like this type of game for a very, very long time. In a sense, like I said, with MMOs and Korean MMOs, I loved them because they were so grindy. And this was basically the same thing where I was just grinding on mobs day in, day out, endlessly getting better loot, upgrading my gear, upgrading my character, that sense of character progression. All that was so great. And like Diablo 3, I mean, who knows what I would have, thought about Diablo 2 when I first started playing it, but Diablo 3 definitely scratched that itch and I really, really enjoyed it for that. Now, again, would I have enjoyed it as much if I had played Diablo 2 before? Who knows? But heck, it was my first foray into ARPGs, and as a result, I enjoyed it a ton. And I think Path of Exile 1 was in like beta or alpha at the time, and I actually started playing that whenever that was available for the public to play as well. So I've been playing Path of Exile since the beta as well. But, first foray was definitely Diablo 3.
That's very cool. Do you think that you would ever go back and try some of these OG sort of genre defining ARPGs like Diablo 1, Diablo 2? What is your stance on that?
Definitely not Diablo 1, but I have Diablo 2 Resurrected. I own it. And when I was, well, the thing is, when the thing with Lost Ark and Korean MMOs, they were a lifestyle rather than a fun little thing you could do on the side. So when Diablo 2 Resurrected came out, I was playing Lost Ark, so I really couldn't put any time into D2R at the time. So maybe at some point I'll go back to DTR. Maybe if they have like a big like if and when they have a big update at some point, and people go back to play it, I'll probably try it out. And I do want to put some time back into it. I actually considered playing Project Diablo 2.
It's amazing. Really, really good.
Yeah. I considered playing it, but I was like, I was polling the community, seeing what they wanted to watch and like what their opinion was and like asking them like, hey, should I try it out if I've never played Diablo 2 or whatever? They're like, you're probably going to spend a good bit of time to understand it and not have, it's kind of like Path of Exile 1 in the sense where you kind of there's like a entry hurdle that you have to get over that I just was like, yeah, you know what? I'll just stick to PoE 2 for now.
That's totally fair. I mean, I recommend it to everybody who hasn't played it before because it holds such a special place in my heart. And I know a lot of other people would say that D2 is like hands down like the king, like D2 is the king of ARPGs. But you know what? It definitely, especially if you play Project Diablo 2, it allows for 1080p widescreen, but it's not the D2R graphics, which make it a lot easier on the eyes to enjoy. You're still going to go back to that, old school 800 by 600 resolution, which I find nostalgic. But for a lot of people who haven't enjoyed games like that in a long time, it is a bit jarring to go from like the high fidelity of PoE 2, which looks beautiful, it looks crisp, it looks gorgeous, to like 800 by 600, like, sprite work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you should definitely try it out, man, someday. I'd be curious to think what you hear about it. So moving on to Path of Exile. So you got into it during the beta. How much did you play it back then? Did you play it consistently up until PoE 2? What was sort of your like style with that game? How much were you playing it?
So I was, in a sense, a very casual player. I would play, when the game first was out in beta or alpha or whatever, right? I played it a good bit. It was kind of my main game for the longest time. And I was really into Crip. I was watching a lot of Crip at the time, and he was playing a ton of it. So I followed along with that journey. But I was very casual in the sense that I would like maybe make it to endgame every now and then. And back then, endgame was literally running a campaign map over and over again. But still, I'll make it to endgame like every now and then. And then like, I'd hop off the game until like a new update came out. Then when the new update came out, I'll play it again. But I'll do this on and off until like, I don't know, maybe like 2013. And then I took a little bit of a break at that point and stopped playing until like 2015. And then I would play like once every season, and then probably make it to end game, and then stop playing within like maybe I hit yellow maps or something like that, and then I'd stop. So I think I only hit red maps like one time. I played it very casually. I played it for many hours, but I played it very casually. I was more about like the journey of making a character and a build come to life rather than like the min-maxing portion of like making my character super strong.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love that. I think that that is something that I think a lot of people forget. Is like there's different ways to enjoy ARPGs, very similarly to RTSs, where you don't always have to be the most optimal, the best build with the best DPS. You can still just play the game through casually, make yourself a cool build that you kind of are home brewing, make it work, and like there's a certain magic in that. So it's cool to hear that like that was sort of your like vibe throughout your Path of Exile experience.
Yeah, and in a sense, it also came to bite me in the ass because like I never delved into any of like the deeper systems in the game, which Path of Exile has a ton. So these days, whenever I look at Path of Exile 1, I'm just like, what are these systems? What are these item systems? Yeah, they've been around for years, and I've played during the time when they came out, but I still don't know how to work with them. So I'm going to be trying 3.26. I mean, not trying, but I'm going to be playing 3.26 just like I played it in Pharesia. But like how far I get into the end game, we'll see.
Totally fair. Yeah, I'm also going to be playing 3.26 as well for the first ever time. So my experience with Path of Exile is I played it in 2017. I played it for about 10 hours. I got to level 47, and then I uninstalled the game because I just got overwhelmed. I wasn't like looking up anything. So I was basically trying to play through the game blind with no like preconceived knowledge of anything. And from what I understand, Path of Exile 1 is quite complicated. I did actually do the same thing in Path of Exile 2 when it came out. I wanted to see what I was capable of doing without any sort of Path of Exile knowledge, a lot of Diablo knowledge, a lot of ARPG knowledge, but not anything specific to the way that Path of Exile systems work. And I was able to like complete the campaign, get to tier 15s, get all my ascendancy points, like, hit all of the milestones that like are like, considerable for a like new player. So I'm excited to see how I can go back and play Path of Exile 1 now, having about 1,000 hours or so in like PoE 2, and see if that makes the difference. I've been trying to be as blind as possible. I haven't even watched the Secrets of the Atlas trailer. I've been avoiding all of our friends' like content like the plague, just trying to really keep it as blind as possible. What do you predict is going to happen?
I mean, I would say that if you it's hard to say. It really just depends on your mindset and how much you want to do it, because I think it's definitely doable with just like the base Path of Exile 2 knowledge, as long as you're smart about it and like, try hard enough. But I still think it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult. There's a lot of stuff that just like the tree is so much different. If you're going in there trying to do like a homebrew build like without much knowledge of Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2 tree is just way more simple compared to the Path of Exile 1 tree. And that probably is going to be where most people get tripped up, because the philosophy for the Path of Exile 2 tree, as explained by Jonathan, is that it should be a force multiplier to the equipment that you're wearing. Because it's like pretty easy to understand equipment for the most part. More attack damage equals more damage, more HP, more survivability, more resistances, more survivability, and things like that, right? You don't really need to deal with like the complicated like Shaper, Elder Influence, all those types of things in the campaign. But the skill tree in Path of Exile 1 is not a multiplier. It's a core part of the character that if you mess up on or you don't know how to do it, it ends up being like you're probably going to struggle real hard. So it's going to be difficult, but I'm sure you can do it.
The way I've kind of looked at it, of course, I'm going to like make a video. This is going to be my next video, sort of documenting this journey. And the way I sort of look at it is, within every sort of movie, the protagonist always encounters like a massive hurdle, a massive struggle. And I'm hopefully going to, as the protagonist, overcome that struggle and complete the goals that I want to complete with Path of Exile 1. So we'll see what happens. I may have to just send you a message and be like, bro, I need a shoulder to cry on. I'm my character's bricked. We'll see though. We'll see.
Hopefully that won't happen. But if you need anything, I'll be there.
For sure. I'm trying to keep it as blind as possible for the initial playthrough, but yeah. So yeah, moving on to Path of Exile 2. So you've been blasting it a lot since it came out on December 4th. So what was your sort of thought process behind Path of Exile 2 before the game actually came out? Were you excited about it? Were you a little sort of skeptical? How did you feel about it?
I mean, I was very Lost Ark brained at the time, so I didn't really pay too much attention to it. But every time I did see a snippet of it or like watch something or hear something about it, I was definitely like, oh wow, I'm excited to see this rendition of Path of Exile. I want to see what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel like, how it's going to play like. I really enjoyed Path of Exile 1, and Path of Exile 2 seems to be, and like I said, I kind of fell off on Path of Exile 1 pretty hard at some point in the sense like it just started feeling super overwhelming. So whenever I played it, it was just like I'd maybe make it to the end of the campaign or something like that before I drop it. But this was like, look, Path of Exile 1's an amazing game. I know that. Path of Exile 2 seems like a perfect point for me to get back into the franchise and the series. I'm going to do it. It's going to be great. And, that's kind of was the mindset and the thought process that I had going into it. It seemed to be different. The way that they approached it was different. And it was kind of like trying to appeal to a much wider audience, which I was a big fan of.
Definitely. I think they were super successful in that. I mean, myself as a prime example, a person, and I know there's a lot of us out here who never quite got gripped by Path of Exile 1 the way that Path of Exile 2 sort of like pulled us in. And I think there's a reason for that. And it was essentially to expand the audience of Path of Exile to new players, basically, right? The onboarding in Path of Exile 2 is very, very good. I felt like whenever I was playing the game, I never had to like leave the game to figure anything out. All the information that was presented to me was enough to make me understand the synergies between skills, understand how attributes worked, how the skill tree worked, and from that, I was able to basically figure everything out, essentially. So it was very, very good in that regard. Absolutely. What did you find, if any, was like the transition, or how was the transition from playing a lot of Lost Ark, which is also like kind of an ARPG in the sense of like the combat and the way that you use skills and stuff, moving into Path of Exile 2?
I mean, I'd always like, for me, it was a very natural transition. It honestly, there was never really a thought about like, oh, is this going to be like a hard transition or anything like that? Maybe because of my ARPG background or things like that. There's no friction pretty much going into Path of Exile at all. And the build that I made was also like a homebrew build. Like everything it just went really smoothly. Much like your experience, like I was able to get into it without much research, doing anything, and just to make my own build and make it through the campaign, make it to tier 15s, all that. It was a very good experience, very, very easy transition and everything.
Nice. I am curious, what sort of was the catalyst for you stopping playing Lost Ark?
Oh, that one. I mean, so when I went in, so there's a multitude of reasons why I stopped playing Lost Ark. Some personal, some business oriented. Like it's just a mixture of many things. So first of all, Lost Ark, I'd been making content at that time for about a year. And while there were definitely many milestones that I hit in terms of a streamer and a content creator, I definitely didn't feel like it was going at the pace that I would like it to. And just looking into the future, right? I gave myself a timeline for how long I'd be doing content creation for. And if it didn't, like as a full-time content creator, and if at the end of this timeline it didn't work out, I would go back and work corporate again. So I was like, okay, time's ticking. I need to get this. I need to figure something out and see what's going on. It's been a year and my stream has been doing well, all things considered, but not to a point where I could sustain myself. So I saw Path of Exile 2. I'm like, this is an excellent place for me to potentially jump off and like go to a different game that has a much wider audience. So I have a lot more opportunities to become a bigger content creator, for one. So that's kind of like one area that I was thinking about. But the second area that it's actually really funny how it happened. So at some point, Lost Ark started changing its kind of philosophy on like raid design and like, how the game is played, because the Lost Ark as a game has always been a very hard game. Raids have been difficult, and like, as a result, it's really hard for new players to get in. So at some point, the Western publishers, right, AGS saw that and started to make the game a lot easier, which I was happy about, but I wasn't happy about the way that they made it easier. Rather than making certain mechanics easier or not like one shot your entire party and insta wipe everyone, they just lowered the HP of the monsters, of the bosses a lot of times, and that ended up being like the bosses would just kind of melt and like you would barely be able to actually even play the game. And I was unhappy about that. And I was like, this is weird. It's like I basically made a video. It was like, hey, saying, is Lost Ark too easy now? It's not that it's too easy, but it's like I don't actually even get to play the game or my character anymore, and I'm not happy about that because I like playing the game. And then the community was like, what are you talking about? This is really great for the game, blah blah blah. Like this is great to make the game more accessible. But I'm like, you guys got to understand, it's I'm playing. You don't get to play the game as much. You don't get to do the fun parts of the game as much. And they're like, well, I'm happy to like be able to finish what I'm doing and go and play other games instead. And then at that point, I was just like, it kind of clicked. I'm just like, have we as a community become so just conditioned or poisoned by this game that we're not even having fun with it anymore? Like these people aren't even having fun with it anymore. Their goal is to finish their raids, their homework, and stop playing the game. I'm just like, if you don't enjoy the game, why do you keep playing it? And then I made a follow-up video saying, are you enjoying the game? Right? It was called Are You Enjoying the Game, I think. Are you actually enjoying Lost Ark? And I was going on about like how, is it really enjoyment if you're just feel like you're doing chores and you're happy that you get to play the game less so you get to go play other games. And the community was just not, a lot of them were not happy about that video. And that just, in my mind, I'm just like, you know what? I need to get out of here. This is like not healthy. Like the way that the game made people feel and think, and this is like again a big Korean MMO thing. I was just like, you know what? This isn't it. This isn't it. So on top of like the fact that for my content wasn't doing like the as well as I would have liked it to have done, on top of the fact that it just felt like it was poisoning people, I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out.
Okay, so there's a few factors. I think what you sort of described, the second part of what you described, do you think that there's a relationship to the sunk cost fallacy? You're aware of what that
Oh
is,
yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
Do you think that plays a part in games like Lost Ark, where like, oh, I've already invested thousands of hours into this game. I does that like sort of make it so that for a lot of these players, they still need to continue doing their dailies, their like chores essentially. So because they've already sunk that much time into the game, you know what I mean, to get to that point anyway.
There's a big part of that for sure. And for me, luckily, I've never really been a big person who kind of subscribe. Like, I don't really get affected by the sunk quality as much. I've dropped, well, you never drop Maple Story, but I've technically dropped Maple Story after thousands of hours playing it. I've dropped like gacha games. Like I played a game called Epic 7, which was another Smilegate game. I've played that game for thousands of hours, sunk thousands of dollars into that, and I just stopped playing it. Lost Ark, same thing. I've sunk, probably at this point, maybe 5 digits worth of money into that game. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. Luckily, it's never been an issue for me, but definitely there's a lot of people who will see that as an issue, both on the time side of things, but also the money side of things. But it's kind of like, I think the main reason, I think sunk cost fallacy is one part. I think the other part is the reason why it becomes this issue of like, I can't stop playing is because games like Lost Ark, for one, MMOs, right, are kind of like, in a way, a second life. You spend so much time in it. You build up all this whole community of friends that you play together with. And if you leave that game, a lot of times it means that you start feeling and getting more disconnected from that group of friends, that community that you built so much, you built a relationship with and spent so much time with. So there's that, but also the fact that these games in general kind of condition you to play every day and want to play every day to a point where, like, again, it's FOMO, right? When you stop playing, you feel like you're going to be missing out on something. You feel like you're never going to be able to catch back up. So all of that combined makes so that these people, they can't stop playing the game because they are, in many senses, manipulated into just continuing playing it every day psychologically.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting. I never really thought about it in terms of the monetary value. Again, I never got to that sort of part of the game where I was actually thinking about investing a lot of my own like money into it. But I can definitely see that also contributing to the sunk cost fallacy. Like, I've spent $1,000 in this game. I can't just pack up and leave. Like, I have all of this stuff that and then on top of that, I think that's one of the most beautiful things about MMOs. It is this like virtual world, this second home that a lot of people, find comfort in. They find a community and they find friends in. And so it's kind of like the way I look at it is like a job that you don't necessarily love anymore, but you love the people you work with. And that's why you keep working at the job, because you're like, I'm gonna miss, my coworkers. We have such a great time together and stuff like that. So thank you for sharing sort of your insights about, your, departure from Lost Ark. I feel like
Yeah.
you have a very like nuanced take about, game design and especially Korean MMOs and stuff like that. So it's really cool to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's 20 years and still going with Korean MMOs,
For sure. We're going to hop back in when Maple Story Classic comes out.
I mean, Chrono Odyssey's coming out soon. I'm gonna get right back into it.
Yeah, dude, that looks amazing too. I'm trying not to be too hyped for Chrono Odyssey, but it's like hard because like, you see the combat and the graphics and the way that they're approaching certain systems, and you're like, oh, this could be it, boys. This could be it.
That's what I feel
So
every time, though. So
yeah, I know. That's so true. That's how they get you. Really good trailers. And now with UE5, it's so easy to make a really good trailer, like a really good looking game. So but yeah, so you said basically it was a game that you couldn't stop playing for a while, and now you found yourself in that similar state with Path of Exile 2. What about Path of Exile 2 has gotten you into that mindset where it's like really hard to stop playing it?
I mean, I just think it's a lot of fun more than anything. I'm with my channel, right? Most people know I'm a build maker. So I just love making builds and like making cool ideas come to life. And that part is really, really fun for me. But on top of that, it's just, the builds that you like. Path of Exile 2 as a game, I think even more so than Path of Exile 1, they've just designed it in a way where it just feels really good to press the buttons. And I always use this term when I'm talking about these games because, like, I think, like, for example, Last Epoch was really popular. It has some really good systems in the game. I think a lot of the systems are way better than what Path of Exile 1 or Path of Exile 2 has in terms of accessibility and also depth. It's like, it's really accessible, but also there's a good bit of depth into it, right? So I think, like, there's a lot of good systems in Last Epoch, but then, like, actually pressing the buttons and killing the monsters felt nowhere as good as Path of Exile 2 or even Path of Exile 1. I think right now, in terms of ARPGs and how good it feels to play the game, press the buttons, how responsive the game is, how it feels to, like, mow through an entire screen of monsters, Path of Exile 2 is the best in ARPGs right now.
Yeah, I completely agree 100%. And it's, as an artist, I've kind of been breaking down what creates sort of that experience to give you that much entertainment and fun from pressing those buttons. And it's just a combination of, the visuals are so, high fidelity. The audio engineering is amazing.
Yes.
Like every crackle of every like lightning bolt coming off of a lightning spear just sounds so good. The music, everything, the visual effects on skills. I still get like this moment of awe when I see like a monster like crumble into like randomly generated ice chunks, and that's just happening in like
Mm.
entire screens. You know what I mean? Like all of
Mhm.
those things come together to create this amazing experience where you're absolutely right, pressing those buttons and doing those abilities and playing the game. I just feel like it's very it's like unmatched right now. It just in terms of the ARPG space, it just feels so damn good. So I can definitely see that for sure.
Yeah, it at the end of the day, it just feels good to press the buttons. And like you said, I think the biggest things are sound design and animation. Those two are the biggest things that go into the game feeling good to press the buttons.
For sure. In terms of build crafting and so that sort of side of things, what are your thoughts right now in terms of like the flexibility of skills, the flexibility of creating different characters with the ascendancies and stuff like that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think that they've in terms of flexibility specifically, they've done a lot to make it better to, like, respec, change things around, like making it so that we change ascendancies, making the respec cost, lower. So, like, that type of stuff I think has definitely gotten a lot better. It's still, you know, in terms of the gold cost for respecking, quite a bit of a hurdle, but you know, I don't think that there should ever be like a I don't know. I feel like Path of Exile as a game is not like Diablo to where like you can just like freely swap here and there. There should be some sort of weight in like, you know, in your decision making, but I do think it's how much like it costs and things like that is always going to be a question in our mind about what the right balance is. But I do think that there is a good bit of flexibility right now for like your characters and how you build it and like the different ascendancies and stuff. When it comes to like build variety, I think that it's really interesting. Here's with my perspective on build variety. Because I know a lot of people are going to say like this season there's like no build variety. It's just lightning spear, lightning spear, lightning spear, lightning spear, right? But in my opinion, it's like last season was there were probably about 4 or 5 double S tier classes with like, I don't know, Tempest Flurry, the double Herald stuff with Lightning Arrow, you know, Spark, Stormweaver, all those, right? Those were like the double S tier class. And then there were no S tier classes, but a good number of A tier classes. This season, I think that there's maybe like 2 or 3 double S tier classes with like Lightning Spear, and like maybe like Spark, Bloodmage, something like that.
Or like
But
Whirling
then,
Slash,
like,
maybe I don't know.
maybe it's
Yeah,
I'd say it's
yeah.
like on the edge, right?
Yeah,
I would
yeah,
say that it's like either between double S or S, but like instead of a season where there's 4 double S's and no S's, and the rest is an A or below. I think this season is probably like 2 or 3 double S's, but we have a lot more S tier class like builds and you know and below basically. So it's like in a sense, yes, there aren't as many double S tier builds, but at the same time, there's a lot more builds that are viable, is what I'd say. Yeah, you know, Lightning Spear is going to stand above the rest, but then there's a lot of stuff that's kind of close. It's not that bad, not that big of a difference. So it's actually interesting for my take of like build diversity and build variety this season. I actually think it's better than last season because of that.
I 100% agree. I find it fascinating that people look at sort of the metrics behind what people are playing. Obviously, you know, everyone talks about the statistic of lightning spears on 50+% of all characters in like Trade League, but they're not looking at the bigger picture here. They're just looking at that. And I think that if you look beyond the obvious statistics, there are so many interesting builds that actually are, as you said, viable in the game. Not only viable, are actually really good. Like they're not obviously like lightning spear good, but they're still really, really good. So I do find it interesting that like the community is so quick to some of the community is so quick to jump on board where and sort of, you know, agree to that sentiment when the evidence is also pointing in the other direction as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like I forget who was saying this. I don't know if it was Jonathan or like one of the interviews that Tried did with like Palsterian, but they were talking about like balance and like whether or not Lightning Spear should be nerfed or like changed or anything like that. But like at the end of the day, and it's like a weird mindset that players have, I think. But they were saying that, you know, Lightning Spear is very accessible, and for the most part, players really enjoy playing it. So as long as people are having fun, why does it matter too much whether or not Lightning Spear is more OP than the rest? When everybody like the thing is, the person who's playing Lightning Spear, right? Their enjoyment of the game doesn't impact anybody else's. Like it doesn't really matter too much that Lightning Spear is that much more powerful than the rest. Like if you don't like playing Lightning Spear, just don't play it. Like it doesn't that's kind of like the thing. It's like
For sure.
it's an ability that's easy to get into, but also people enjoy it. And as long as people are enjoying the game, that's all that matters for the most part.
100%, man. And I think a very important part of what you just said was the accessibility. And that comes down to the item. We all know Tangle Tongue is a level 26 unique item that's very easy to farm. You can
Yes.
get that from just farming, you know, various level 26 act 2 zones, you know, using a couple orbs of chance, and you're probably going to get one. Out of like 10 I chanced, I got like 3. It was like, you know,
Yeah,
it's so
it's like a
super easy.
33% chance.
Yeah, it's very, very easy. So this sort of is a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about next, which is itemization. So The reason why Lightning Spear is so easy to get into is because the item that unlocks sort of that next level for that build is just such an easy item to get. How do you feel about itemization currently in Path of Exile 2? Do you think that there are enough items like Tangle Tongue that are sort of build enabling and accessible, or do you think that we need more of them? What's your sort of stance on items?
I mean, there's always a desire for more, right? You're never gonna reach a point where you're like, whoa, this is too many items to design build around. Like, I don't think that's ever really gonna be a case. So there's always a desire for more. And I mean, I think that the fact that it is in early access which means that we don't have as many uniques as like Path of Exile 1 or even like Last Epoch or something like that. It is a little bit more limiting. That being said, I do think that Dawn of the Hunt has introduced quite a few items into the game that are build defining. A lot of people, I think, argue about the power level of a lot of the uniques that get brought into the game, which I think can be the argument can go one way or another. But I do think that in terms of build defining items and items that you can make builds around, Dawn of the Hunt introduced a lot of them, and I'm very happy about that. So I guess to make a longer answer shorter, I do think that there's always an opportunity to have more, but I do think that the state of the game right now is actually way better than it was before for build making.
100%. I love sort of how we're all going through this sort of experience together, getting in when it was rough around the edges in point one and seeing, these leaps and strides in terms of how much better they're making the game over time. And as a person who's new to the way that GGG designs games and releases patches in a certain cadence, it's actually been amazing. Like, I'm just like, these guys are like a cut above the rest in terms of like
100%.
how in touch they are with like everything. Going back to items, though, my own personal opinion right now is that, coming from a Diablo 2 standpoint, maybe you'll sort of look into this a little bit more when you play Diablo 2. There was a lot more items in Diablo 2 that you made builds off of. And right now, it feels very much so like in Path of Exile 2. Yes, there are some, of course. Like, you can, clearly list off dozens or a couple, a handful that are really like, you get this, that unlocks like a build. But for the most part, for me, it feels like there's too much of a trade-off to use this item over like a really good rare. One example, I mean, myself and Off Meta Michael were just chatting for like hours the other night, going through and looking at unique items in our stashes and seeing how they could be applicable to different builds. And more than often, you would have something that had a couple really cool modifiers, like something that would be like game changing. But in order to replace your particular piece of gear, let's say it's an amulet, for example, in order to replace your +3 proj amulet with resistances, with +2 energy shield, with various really powerful modifiers, you're sacrificing all of that in terms of one really cool modifier. Let's use the Zesh amulet, for example, that gives you lightning on crit. It doesn't give you anything else. It just gives you lightning resistance and lightning on lightning damage on crit, and avoiding lightning resistances on enemies when when critting. It's very powerful, but the trade-off doesn't seem worth it compared to the amount of power and defenses and scaling that you get from just a really good rare amulet. So what I'm trying to say is, I feel like there needs to be more items in the game like that Zesh amulet that just have a clear like, oh, this is just a good amulet that's an auto equip if you find it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they add +2 skill onto it. Maybe they add a few more things on it, like just to level it up so that like it's not so much of like, like I lose all of this other stuff just to put on this cool piece of gear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I totally see that, and I actually have thought about this issue, and like, I think for me, I actually like that there's negatives that come with some of these uniques, and I know a lot of the community does not think that way, but I actually, for me, I think like uniques having negatives is actually really cool, because in the situation that you're talking about, like, hey, I find this necklace, it's really good, I'll just slap it on, right? And it's going to make my build way better and define the build. I think that, was there any thought process that went into that? No, right? You just see it, it's good, you put it on. But when there's a negative to it, then as a build maker, the wheels start turning about how can I incorporate this build and build all my other gear around it to make it so that it counteracts that negative and makes it so that this this really cool unique that I really want to make work can work in my build. So I actually think the opposite in the sense that I actually like that there's negatives. Now you could maybe make an argument about like, are the negatives too strong, right? Are they too crippling? Are they too much of a hurdle to be able to like, basically, do you have to give up too much to make that one thing work? I think that that is an argument that can definitely be made. But in terms of like having these negatives and downsides to these equipment, I actually kind of like that as a build maker because it actually gets me thinking about how can I make this work in my build rather than, oh, this is great, I'm just going to slap it on.
100%. And I don't think that I'm looking at it from necessarily the same perspective because I specifically play a hardcore solo self-found. So when I'm trading off certain items, it's a massive decision because I could potentially be losing my character if I put on the wrong piece of gear or lose too many defensive layers or defensive capabilities. So it's very tough in that particular sense to like find these unique items that are just like an instant I'm gonna slap that on because that thing's just way better. You know what I mean? Whereas in Trade League, I feel like it's a little bit different where you can be a bit more flexible in terms of the gear that you're wearing and sort of the sacrifices that you're making in terms of your defenses and stuff like that as well. I just think that it's more so about the holy crap moment when something drops. You know what I mean? Like when you see a unique item that drops on the ground, there's very few instances where you're like, whoa, like that finally dropped. Like I can't wait to use that and make the build that enables. It's more so like, that dropped. How can I figure out something that makes it so that that item can work for me? You know what I mean? And I do miss that feeling, right?
I think a lot of that is probably, like you said, hardcore solo self-found being like the part that you are like the league that you're playing. Because as a person that mainly plays software trade, it's the opposite, right? I still do get that feeling of like, oh my gosh, this is crazy that this dropped. I've never had it before. One, because I can either A, make a build around it, or B, if I don't want to make a build around it, I could sell it for big money. So
For sure.
and the thing is, I've been playing more hardcore. Like I have been playing a bit of hardcore solo self-found. I played a bit of last league. I played a bit of this league, and that's the thing that I missed. You're right. I missed that so much about it. Like the other day, like I dropped like this was before the perfect jeweler buff, right? I dropped a perfect jeweler, and I was like, oh my god! Like I was not like, oh my god, that's crazy, a perfect jeweler. I was like, oh cool, perfect jeweler, because like it just in a sense it didn't feel like it was very build enabling or like it just. Yeah, it wasn't like because at the moment, right, I was still kind of like building up my build, and I was like, should I use it on this or that? It wasn't like there wasn't as much of like a dopamine rush of like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I could sell this for a lot of money even if I didn't want to use it. It was basically like, oh, I kind of have to if I don't use it on or things like that. I think they're like the way that I think about it now is rather than like a design, like because like this problem's hard, right? If you think about it this way, because like you said, you saw it from my perspective, right? From a trade perspective, softcore trade, it is really cool to be able to make builds around like items like that. But like, I can totally see it from your perspective as well, where like hardcore solo self-found, if you find a really cool item that normally in softcore trade would be a really cool item, but in hardcore solo self-found, it's really hard to make a build around that, right? I think rather than and like if you pull the slider one way or another, you're going to end up either making softcore trade people sad or the trade people sad. And if you pull it too much the other way, you're going to make the hardcore solo self-found people bad or unhappy or mad. And I don't know. And I think this is probably one of the biggest issues with Path of Exile too, that you're probably experiencing hardcore solo self-found. It's just that there's just a very limited way to actually manipulate your gear and get the desired type of gear that you want that exists in Path of Exile 1. There's a lot more deterministic crafting and things like that. So rather than like, in my opinion, rather than changing the way that the items work, maybe it's more about giving us more opportunities and ways to attain that gear that can make those items work rather than making the items just, more shallow in a sense.
100%. I think that, there are definitely like potential solutions to this issue. And it's, you're absolutely right. It's a very, depending on the perspective, it's a very cool thing or it's a very not cool thing, depending on your play style and the way that you play and stuff like that. But yeah, I just think that, down the road, it would be cool to maybe, I don't know, Off Meta Michael made a suggestion where it's like, what do you think, Blaze, if there was a way to like imprint a modifier onto a unique item somehow with like some very like rare like crafting currency or something like that, just to sort of fill in those gaps, because you're very familiar with Path of Exile. I feel like the gear you're wearing is very much like a puzzle, especially when it comes to attribute points to fulfill your skill gem requirements. And you find a cool piece of gear like a unique amulet, but you don't have that intelligence that you do on your normal amulet. So now you have to either resocket your rune sockets to get some intelligence or configure your tree a little bit. It just feels like, yes, like you said, there hopefully will be something that allows for a little bit more, I don't know what to call it. I guess like ways to shift around things so that you can still appreciate and use these really cool items that exist, while also like making sure that your character's not like, suffering because of it, basically.
Yeah, and I think and hope that will just come with time and them adding more systems into the game. And I think they have a really tough problem to solve with that, because the whole reason, in my opinion, the whole reason why Path of Exile 2 even exists in the first place is because they made it to try to make it more accessible to a more, casual audience, right? Because Path of Exile 1 is definitely not that. But at the same time, you do want to be adding depth to the game and more features and systems into the game over time. So they have this really tough problem of like, hey, if we add another system, it's going to make it less accessible to a new player. But then it's going to be more fun for the people playing it. So it's about adding more systems or adding more things to the game in a way that makes it not feel overwhelming, which is a very hard problem to solve.
100%. And I feel like getting into the game at the very start of it, again, just allows you to appreciate how much farther they're going to have to come to get it to like the really, really good, like not perfect, but like solid foundation of it. But either way, I'm still loving it. I'm still having fun. I love the moment to moment gameplay. The feeling of just playing the game is so good. And I find myself not getting bored of it, which is so weird. Like, I don't know how you are, Miso, but like for me, anybody that knows me knows that like I'll get into a game, I'll play it like crazy for like 2, maybe 3 months, burn myself out, and then move on to something else. It happens with everything. Tarkov, Counter-Strike, whatever, any game, Dota. But with Path of Exile, it's like different, man. I don't know. It's like whatever they're doing, it's working for me.
Same. I enjoy playing it every single day. And whenever I do have free time, a lot of times I'll just pop on Path of Exile again and continue grinding. It's just so much fun to play. It's such a good time.
Absolutely. And the fact that it's still in early access and there's already like, this amount of, enjoyment that can happen. It's just such a good sign of the future game to come, which is very, very reassuring for sure. So I wanted to ask you a few other questions about Path of Exile too. So because you're playing on Trade League, I had a stint on Trade League when I first started the game. Of course, you want to learn the game before moving into hardcore, not just get one shot to some, river hag somewhere and not know what's going on. But so
that's what happened to me.
And that's what happens to everybody. If you're playing on hardcore, you either die to river hags or the mighty silver fist at least one time. You have to. It's a rite of passage. But so in Trade League, can you describe to me your sort of experiences with the trading system? How do you feel about it? What's your opinion about it? And do you think there are any improvements that could be made to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's many flaws with the trade system, mainly in the fact it's mostly with other people. The fact that you have to there's no auction house, there's no way for like any type of automated trading to go on, creates a lot of friction in the trade system. Because if you think about most games with some sort of trade function or like some sort of economy, there's either automated player shops. Let's just say I'm thinking back to like MMOs, right? You can like open up a shop and just leave it there, and players can go and visit it. Yeah, in the free market or something like that. You can visit it and just buy the thing you see. You see something you like, you press it, you buy it. Very easy, right? No friction on the seller and no friction on the trader or the buyer. Or you have like auction houses where you put something on the auction house, you search through a list. All right, I like this item, you buy it, you get it. It's great, right? I think the core issue with trading is that there's many issues, but I think the problem with trading is that one, right, you have to rely on people being there at that time. So like, if you trade them and they're not there, they AFK or something like that, you won't get the trade. Or if you trade them and then they don't respond to you, then you don't get the item, right? It's like, in a sense, it's kind of like, I feel like the trade system right now is kind of like you're window shopping. And then you see something that you really, really like, and you're like, I have enough money to buy it. And you press the button to buy it, but you can't buy it. And I think that is the biggest problem. You have this feeling of dopamine rush. You're like, oh my gosh, this item is great. It's perfect. Great price. Great item, right? And then you're just disappointed because you can't get it. It's that feeling of being very excited and then getting into disappointed. That is the biggest problem with the trade system right now. Of course, the reason behind that is the trader, like, the player behind the screen not responding. But, I think, of course, the auction house or some sort of system like that would probably be the biggest and easiest fix. But again, I think the core problem with it, right, beyond just the system itself, is that feeling of big dopamine rush, but then being disappointed afterwards. And of course, this allows for a lot of like price fixing and things like that as well, which is also bad. But I think the main issue is just like seeing an item you like, having the money you can to buy it, but not being able to buy it. That's the biggest area of friction in the game for trade.
100%. The way that I've looked at it, and this is sort of the part of the inspiration for why I got off of Trade League and moved into solo self-found and hardcore, is because I ended up getting fed up with that. The way I look at it as sort of a metaphor was like, Trade League feels like you're buying something off of Facebook Marketplace when it should feel like you're buying something off of Amazon, where you want it, you click a button, and you just get it. Whereas on Facebook Marketplace, you message them, they take a long time to get back to you, they haggle with you, they might not even answer you. Oh, sorry, I just sold that to someone else. Like, when you leave it up to a person, there's so many variables that come into play with that particular aspect of trading that it creates sort of like a negative experience for the most part. Of course, there are times when someone's super responsive and super lovely and you leave them a 5-star review on Facebook Marketplace. But for the most part, there's just a very wide spectrum of ways that these trade interactions can go. And that is if the trade website is functioning properly as well. I've had many instances, especially like in 0.1 when the game was just like insanely popular, where the trade site just wouldn't work, or it would automatically highlight like my trade as being listed as a hardcore trade or something like that. So there's a few things that sort of accumulate together to create sort of a bad player experience. And it's funny because they have the premium stash tabs, which allow you to just list items. They have the currency exchange. Like, they have all of these infrastructure points that could easily allow for, like, you put something in your stash tab, 20 exalted orbs, someone buys that through an auction house interface, and then the currency just gets deposited into the currency exchange or your currency stash tab. Like, it could be boom, boom, boom. That's that simple. But I'm not sure. Do you ever think that, like, maybe when the game is done, when like they have a bit more time away from the content that they're working on, do you think that they would do like a trade revamp?
I don't know. I mean, it's so hard because this has been a request since the beginning of time in Path of Exile 1. Like, people have wanted an auction house since forever ago, and they still haven't added it. And I feel like Jonathan at some point gave a reason why it doesn't exist, but I don't remember it. And it was also, if there was, it was probably a BS reason anyways. But I hope that they do, but at the same time, I'm not confident because of their track record of this specific issue. And I think, like, I just thought about one of the other things that is the biggest problem with trade is that a lot of people don't know exists. A lot of people don't know it exists because it's on an external website. I don't understand why they couldn't just build the trade interface into the game itself and have an NPC that handles it. So even if they don't change anything about trade, right? I don't understand why they can't have a dedicated NPC, have an in-game UI for you to actually browse items.
I mean, they have Alva, they have the currency exchange. It's like the pieces are like there, you know what I mean? Like the start of it is there. It's just, I think my personal opinion is they're so focused right now on everything else that they have a system in place that works. That technically it works. People trade items all the time. It may not be the best experience, but it's not high on the priority list. But I think that if they had changed this like recently, like let's say for instance, like point 3 comes out and one of the big draw cards is like we're doing a trade revamp alongside with a new class and a new weapon and stuff like that. I would be logging into hardcore trade immediately, dude. Like there's no
Mhm.
questions asked. Like that would be a game changer for me, and I know it'd be a game changer for a lot of like SSF players as well. I know a lot of people just love the feeling of SSF like myself, but dude, if trade was good, I'd be logging in.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the thing is the trade system being this way also creates a lot of friction in areas that you wouldn't even think about because you might not know this because you're not in trade, but did you know that a level 20 skill gem and spirit gem costs way less than like a level 8 one?
Oh yes, 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 yes. Because certain skills you need to keep at level 8 in order to be able to use them because of attribute points, right?
That, but also like leveling up, you might be in a part of the campaign and just never find a level 8 spirit gem. Because like
Right.
you know how there's cutoffs, right? Like I think it's like,
Yeah.
at like level 3 you get certain skills, level 6
Yeah.
skills, you get certain skills, right? So like the cutoff for like between the tier 1 and tier 2 skill gems is at I think level 8. And then
Mhm.
sometimes you might not find a level 8 skill gem until like you get to the tier 3 skill gems for like spirit gems. So it's
Right.
like it ends up being like you because you a lot of people hit that point where they need that and want it and you can't get it because like most people when they're farming, right? When they go through the campaign, they just blaze through that section.
For sure.
Whereas in the end game, you're spending a lot of time farming, so there's a lot more of those higher level spirit gems and skill gems available. So because of that, it ends up being a situation where a lot of people want that stuff, but you can't get it because one, you're not dropping it, but two, like it's so hard to get it on trade.
It's
Like
scarcity too.
people,
Not many people are
yeah,
picking them up, right? Do you think that it
yeah.
would be a better design decision? And this is just very like, kind of an obtuse perspective, but the way that support gems work, level 3 support gem unlocks all support gem tiers below level 3. Do you think that skill gems could work the same way? Well, let's see if I find a level 20 now that they're dropping constantly. What if you could access a level 8 skill gem from a level 20? So like basically what I'm saying is if you find a level 20, you can cut any level gem up to 20 from that particular gem. What do you think
That
about that?
that would be one of the ways you could do it. Another way is like, of course, back to PoE1 system where you just buy them from an NPC.
Mhm.
Exchanging them in the currency exchange would be another way to do it to make it more accessible. But definitely, there's a multitude of ways to solve this issue, and like I think part of it also comes back to what you're saying as well of like how sometimes it's way better to have a level 8 gem than a level 20 gem, which I think is kind of an issue in itself of like would I want to have a lower level gem for something as opposed to keep using a higher level one.
Well,
So
certain
maybe
certain
finding
builds just yeah, it's like certain builds. Like for instance, my friend's playing a Smith of Katava and he's using Fire spell on hit. But because you're playing a Smith of Katava, you're primarily using Strength. But to use any sort of spell that's Fire spell, you need Intelligence. So you're looking at using like a level 8 gem in there, and he's throwing in like Solar Orb, and the only purpose of that Solar Orb is to ignite stuff. Like you're not using
Mhm.
it at a high level to do damage. It's just no matter what level of solar orb you're using, it's still creating that ignite based on like the distance between a monster. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of things like that where it's like, you know, the level of the gem isn't necessarily what people are looking for. They're just looking for like the ability that that gem provides.
Exactly. So it's like there's a multitude of solutions for this as well. Like like a lot of times people are doing it because maybe it's like you said attribute requirements. So maybe easing out on the attribute requirements, or it's like maybe it's mana and like maybe it's making it so that it's the mana cost for the higher gems aren't so astronomically higher compared to the lower ones. Like different things like that. There's always going to be min maxing in a game like this, in a situation like this, where there are going to be you know basically like one-off cases where people might want like a lower level gem for something, but it feels like it's such a widespread thing rather than a one-off case that maybe it needs to be relooked at.
Yeah, and again, there's so many things that they have that exist in the game that they could fix. I really do think that like if a skill gem that you have at level 20 could just unlock any tier of skill gem, it would feel so much better, and you wouldn't have to hoard
Oh,
all these
100%.
various levels of gems to fulfill certain
Mhm.
things. Like it would just create a really just seamless experience with that regard. But I do love
Yeah.
the skill gem system. I found myself really just learning to, I don't know, just it felt so intuitive compared to my experience, my very brief experience with Path of Exile 1, where like I was always reconfiguring my gear and I couldn't figure out the socket colors and how to make them work sometimes. And yeah, so I think on the whole, like the skill gem system in Path of Exile 2 just feels really good. There's just a few little tweaks that they could make to make it better.
Definitely.
I wanted to check in with you. We're at like almost an hour and a half. How are you doing and how are you feeling?
Good. I mean, if you have more questions, you want to keep going, I'm totally fine. I still have time and we're good to go. I've been having a good time so far.
Awesome. All right. Me too, man. I want to say thank you so much for coming on. It's been a wonderful chat and I've been really enjoying it. And I won't take up too much of your time, but I'd love to ask you a few more questions about Path of Exile and then just sort of wrap things up with a few more general questions, if that's cool.
Sure.
Awesome, man. All right. So we talked a lot about itemization. We talked about skills. We talked about balance and stuff like that. One thing that we haven't talked about yet is crafting. I wanted to get your general perspective on how you feel at this current state in patch 0.21. How is crafting feeling for you right now? Are you engaging with it in Trade League a lot, or are you mainly purchasing gear via the currency? Or, sorry, mainly purchasing gear via the trading website?
For self upgrades, for the most part, I rarely ever get like stuff that I find that is useful for myself to, use. I do craft a bit on like item bases that I find on the ground that I'm like, oh, okay, there's a couple good lines here. Let's throw some exalts onto here and see how it goes, right? I do interact with the crafting system quite a bit in that aspect, but it's never for like my own gear. It's always to like sell and trade to other people, which, like maybe it depends on how you look at it, a good thing or a bad thing. I don't mind it because in trade, right? I could just sell it and then buy the gear that I want. But if it's like solo self found, that's going to be a lot more difficult for you to do. In terms of like the state of trade, it's interesting because I thought that they were the goal with 2.1, right? 0.2.1. They're like, oh, we're gonna make like the more rare omens more common so you can use them and things like that. But like it still feels a lot like way too rare, in my opinion, for most people to justify using whittling or like dextral exaltation or like whatever the ones are called, sinistral, whatever.
How much of those
The
sell
purple
for like a
omens.
whittling orb on trade? What's the price of that?
It's like 3 divine or something, like 3 to 4 divine or something.
Okay, so they're not cheap. Yeah,
They're not cheap, exactly. They're not cheap,
Yeah.
and that's the
Yeah.
thing. I was hoping that they would be like maybe like 1 divine or something like that
Mhm.
at the most. Like I was hoping that it was something that would be, because right now I feel like 90% of players who find a expensive omen, right, they'll probably just sell it. They don't
Right.
even think about like using it on a gear. Like you basically have to be like, okay, this is kind of like a GGP gear, or like either A, you're a crafter and you're like using that to make money, or B, you're not a crafter and you find a piece of gear and you're like, well, or if you find an omen of whittling and you're like, well, this is a little bit too expensive to use on my 2 div item. I guess I'll just sell it. Which I was hoping that the change would make it so that people would be able to use these omens to craft their gear and encourage people to craft more. But unfortunately, they still seem too expensive to where like most people are just not use them.
Yeah, it's a shame because in solo self found, you find an omen of whittling in the ritual altar, and you're like, oh, I can finally like get that last bad modifier off of one of my items and then corrupt it because that's what I'm waiting to do. Whereas in Trade League, it feels like you're always looking at things in sort of a return on investment. So if the item isn't worth the price of the whittling orb, or the chance of using the whittling orb won't increase the value of the item to the point where it's worth more than it, then what's the point? And I feel like it turns a lot of people off from crafting, especially because there's not enough of them to just make it so that, I'll just try and use one and just throw a couple div down the drain and see what happens. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
hopefully they can increase that a bit more because I think that
Yeah.
it is really fun to use those things. And when you find them, it should be an exciting time, not only because of its monetary value, but also the impact it can have on like your gear as well.
And I mean, I think and maybe it would take away from some of that excitement that you get when solo self found of finding one. But I do think it's probably healthier for the game to make those more accessible for people to use, even for solo self found, because you're able to get better gear.
100%. I mean, the you know, speaking of like making the game better, like the loot change that we had in like Dawn of the Hunt, in my opinion, just made the game so much better for everybody. Like it made
Mhm.
SSF way more viable. Before it was like I was constantly Exalt starved. I had to like, you know, really be picky about which items I was going to slam. And now the like Exalts are just dropping from the sky. And it really has made the game just more fun in general because now I can just freely mod out gear no matter what. And I don't feel like I'm wasting like my currency. And so I think that
Mhm.
that is sort of the effect that we would see if the rare omen drop rate was increased even more, was just more fun. Like it's just more fun to
Mhm.
just play with these systems, right? But we
Exactly.
have seen, yeah, we have seen an improvement. Like I never saw any one of these omens in point one ever, and I did ritual a lot. So the fact that we are seeing them like infrequently, but still, at a a pace that was very much improved from point one is good. It's a step in the right direction, but I think they have a little ways to go. You're right.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. So let us just end off with a couple more questions. I think some more personal questions would be cool to end off with. So I would love to ask you, what are some milestones that you've had from your like content creation career? If you could list a couple from me, I think it'd be really cool to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the number milestones of like, oh, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 subscribers on YouTube is always exciting. But I think like there's like basically a couple of milestones that we'll start with the ones that I've reached, right? Of course, when I first started streaming, I'm like, oh my God, it would be crazy if I get like 30 concurrent viewers. And then, that number became like 50, then it became like 100, right? And
Mhm.
so like, I'd say like the biggest streaming milestone was like, oh, now getting over stream, which is kind of really cool. And like being partnered was really cool, right? Those are all really cool milestones. But I definitely think the biggest milestone that I've had, and like still at this point, my I guess crown achievement so far, and hopefully it doesn't stay that way. As that's my crown achievement, is that um in October I ended up getting a really big sponsorship with Amazon Game Studio to play Lost Ark. They paid me a good amount of money to play the game. And that was something that I had never even thought that I would be able to achieve in the amount of time it took me to achieve. And that was really, really cool. And then, going to TwitchCon, meeting their team, meeting like a lot of other, and then like being invited to like a Lost Ark creator dinner. And then like all that stuff was like really, really cool. And things that I'm like, dang, I've made it. Even though I haven't really made it, but it would just at least made me a sense of like feeling like I made it. And then like another milestone that I had almost reached,
Mm.
almost, and I couldn't reach, was getting 1,000 concurrent viewers on Twitch without any raids or anything like that. Like I've definitely been over 1,000 quite a few times with like raids, but like getting 1,000 concurrent viewers on my own without like any big raids, it was something that I had always strived for, and I was so close to getting on one of my streams. I was at like a 989 or something like that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it just escaped me. But that was my biggest achievement. Definitely was that partnership with Amazon Game Studio, and one that I'm still chasing is at 1,000 viewers concurrent.
Wow, that's an incredible achievement, man. Congratulations, first and foremost. I mean, like getting sponsored by the company that's like the game you're playing the most, it must just be like a what the heck? Like that's really
Mhm.
cool, man.
Yeah, and it's the crazy thing. It was like the reason why I got that sponsorship wasn't even because of like my viewership. It's like if you like looked at the people who were getting sponsored, they were getting way more viewers than I was. But what ended up happening, and the reason why they sponsored me, was because at that point they were making a huge push to get newer players into the game, and that was where I excelled in helping the newer player experience, helping the newer player journey. And a lot of newer players had their like I was basically the one YouTuber and like streamer that really focused a lot on that new player journey. So because of that, they came to me and it's like, hey, you are really valuable because you offer an area that none of these offer, and that's why we're sponsoring you.
Wow, that's super cool. So they found you because you were just making content. I guess a lot of people weren't making. They weren't making stuff that was focusing on helping new players. They were more like guides to like end game stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't find me because of that. I mean, the Lost Ark content creation space is very small. I've literally,
Hmm.
when I was at TwitchCon, I talked to their creator partnership person, right? And he's like, "Oh, I literally know every single creator down to the one viewer." So they know about all of us because it's just such a small niche community. But it was more of just like, hey, saw that I was offering content that nobody else was offering, and they really liked that and wanted to sponsor me for that.
That's cool. Another thing that I wanted to ask you is sort of your approach to content creation. So you seem to have a very smart approach to it, but also sort of like a very like I want to use the word business sense to it, where you're sort of like looking at the I guess we'll call it like a market or like a the landscape and trying to fill a sort of like a gap
Mhm.
in content and sort of like help carve your own niche essentially. Where did sort of this approach to content creation come from? Did you like study like business at a certain point, or was this something that was sort of like intrinsic to yourself?
I mean, so my previous life, I guess my previous kind of occupation, I worked a lot with executives. I was an executive recruiter. So in that sense, I've had to take a look at things a lot more business oriented. But it was also partly intrinsic. I think like especially from what I know about content creation and how you can grow in content creation is and it's one of the biggest pitfalls of content creators in general, I think. And I'm not by no means saying that I'm like a big like oh I know everything I'm successful like by no means I'm not a big content creator. I'm a very small content creator.
Oh,
But
speak for yourself, man.
I mean, it's just
It's
like
relative. It's relative.
yeah, it's relative, right? But the thing is like it's the way that I look at content is that you need to give people a reason to watch you. You need to give a reason for people to come to your channel and spend time and follow you. And a lot of times like of course it would be great if every single time that people come to you it's because you're entertaining or whatever, right? But sadly I'm not that type of person. I would say most people don't have that type of larger than life personality that just gets people to come to them, like a
Mhm.
queso for example, who is like huge. He literally blew up just off of clips, right? Like most people don't have that type of personality or outlook in life to be able to just get people to watch them for themselves. So, how do you get people to watch you? Well, you want to be useful. You want to provide them something that they find useful, and you provide them something that they will come and watch you for, which, in my opinion, was, well, also, I'm a teacher. That was kind of like my first career section of my life.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
being like making guides, right, was very natural to me because one, that's my passion, but two, it's like that's the best way to get people to watch you because you provide them a reason to come. You're helping them with something and they're looking for something. So that's why they come to you. And the filling the niche thing was just that it just so happened that like Lost Ark, it's a complicated Korean MMO with many systems, and not many people were making guides for it. So I ended up being like, okay, I'm going to fill this niche. And it's like podcasts. Like I used to run a Lost Ark podcast because nobody made a podcast. So I filled that niche as well. Which is again a reason for somebody to watch you because there's a desire for it, but there's nobody making it. So I'm gonna make it for them. So it's a combination of one, like just like one feeling, like a natural sense of like filling a niche being a good direction to go, but also it's about like helping people out and giving them a reason to watch you.
And I feel like Path of Exile is such a perfect content creation game to like to work on because
Mhm.
the wealth of knowledge is almost infinite, and so and then the on top of that, the updates and the cadence of updates is so constant that there's always something new to talk about, to teach people about. So, did that sort of structure of the game and the way that the game is designed influence like heavily in your decision to like move towards like making content for Path of Exile?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Like, I've tried different things since like my Lost Ark time, like making content for Lost Ark. Like, for example, like there was a time when I was trying to do like more video game commentary. Like, do you know, have you ever seen the channel Legendary Drops?
Of course, love legendary drops.
Yeah, exactly. So I was trying to make more of that style of content, whereas like video game commentary for people to just kind of listen to and like talk about opinions and things like that. And while that was good and fun, it just never felt natural to me either. Like it was like for guides and stuff, I could just like make that just with a snap of a finger, right? It came very naturally to me, and like speaking in those videos and making those videos felt very second nature to me. Whereas making those types of videos, that's more video game commentary, it took me days to be able to fill out like even like start coming up with a script, because I'm just not that type of person. So that's kind of like, long story short, kind of ended up why I made like, decided like to make guide content, and like why Path of Exile is like perfect for that, just because there's just so much complexity in the game that it ends up being that I can make a lot of content.
For sure. And it also caters to like yourself, like what you love to do and your background as well. So I think that you found sort of like this beautiful balance in that regard, where like you've tried things, which is very much where I'm at in the content creation journey that I'm on, because I'm, started in February or whatever, but you sort of tailored it over. Like I'm a big proponent of experimentation, especially when you're sort of figuring out what you like to do or what you enjoy doing and what sticks. So I think that you've sort of experienced that, and then over those experiences, it's helped you like sort of really hone in, like, how do I feel about what I'm making and what do I enjoy the best?
Yeah, and I mean, even since starting Path of Exile content, my style of content and what I do has changed so drastically, and I've learned
Mm,
so much about like what works and what doesn't, and like what I like making versus like what people want to see.
for sure, absolutely. I've even noticed from like following your channel for like the last few months, and it seems like you still do just like I always call it, put on a different lure and throw it out there and see what you can catch. And if that lure is not necessarily working for you, there's no issue, no harm, no foul. You were just experimenting, and you can go back to trying something, a new lure, and the one that that's catching the bigger fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of what you got to do to try to grow, right?
For
And
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to close out with one final question. Myself being someone who's new to content creation, do you have any sort of advice, any sort of things that you'd love to share about your own journey that you would love to sort of help? Let's wrap this up perfectly. Help guide new content creators or new people in the right direction.
Mm, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it has to do with what I was saying earlier about like give the people a reason to watch you. You can't just go in like I'd see a lot of people like, for example, something that I have done with my content, like if you've looked at it over time, like, and I think a lot of people this trap is like, how like people are like, oh, put your face on the content, do the big pog face, whatever, and do that on like your thumbnails to attract people. Like for me, that's like a very telltale sign of like very common trap. It's like trying to follow exactly what everybody else is doing that seems to work, without actually understanding why it works and like why people do that.
Mm,
Like, because if you look at my channel, and I'm not going to say that like what everything I'm doing is correct, but this is what I found that works. Like,
mhm,
if you look at my channel, I actually used to do a lot of big pog faces on my channel, but that was after months of making Lost Ark content and actually being a recognizable member of the community, to where it's like, oh, that's Miso, that's his face, I'm going to go click on it. Whereas
mhm,
now I don't do that at all, because I'm not a huge player in the community. So it's like, why are they going to be more incentivized to click on that with my face on it? So it's like understanding like where you are in the content creation journey and like the core content creator landscape, and making videos and making thumbnails, making everything, making your content and tailoring that around where you are in the content creation journey and like how big you are and like what people are looking for, things like that. That's kind of the biggest advice that I have is just like be aware of, who you are, your size, what people are looking for, and then try to make content around that with that in mind.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful advice. I think self-awareness is something that we all sort of have to work on. It's a skill that requires definitely some exercising to sort of figure out. You have to really take a step back, which is something that we can't really do all the time, but find that time to step back, take a look at where we're at, and sort of build accordingly, basically. I love that example with the thumbnails. Like, I think we're all guilty of putting our faces on thumbnails when it may not be super appropriate, but you see it become so successful for people, but you don't actually think like, why is that so successful? And you just think, oh, that's working for that person. I'm gonna do that on mine. And but you don't see the results, and then you just move onward. So no, I love that, dude. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was great. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. It's been an absolute pleasure, dude. It's been a lovely chat. At this point in the convo, would love for you to just plug yourself. Who are you? Where can we find you? And what are you working on?
Yeah, no, and thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. I'm always down for a yap session. As I mentioned, I'm a yapper, when you're a streamer, you're a content creator, you like talking about everything. So it was great
sure.
to be on here, and thank you for the invite. For me, Miso X Shiru, Path of Exile 2 streamer, content creator. I also make MMO content. You can find me on twitch.tv/Miso X Shiru. I stream there every single night, starting at around like 10:30 p.m. PST or so. And then also YouTube, same handle, Miso X Shiru. I make lots of build guide content. I make guide content in general. And I think most people probably know me from my shorts that I make, especially like the series that I do where I cover legendary items or unique, sorry, not legendary items. That's Diablo. Unique items in Path of Exile 2 and like their synergies and just, do the funny edits or not the fun edits.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I think I even had a few people in the chat today saying, oh, I love Miso's shorts. So clearly you're doing something right there. All right, guys. So of course, as always, I'm going to leave a link to Miso's content in the description below. One final thing I wanted to clarify. So in the future, can any viewers expect you to be making some Path of Exile 1 content for 3.26 coming up?
Probably not, unfortunately. It's just,
Okay.
again, I feel like the Path of Exile 1 space is largely dominated by many people who have a lot of experience with the game. And as a result, as a person who has always been, I'm a self-proclaimed casual in Path of Exile 1, again, it's about knowing your place and knowing where you are and knowing your space. I don't think that I'd be able to offer much in terms of quality stuff for Path of Exile 1. And because of that, I think it's a much better decision for me to just be like, I'll watch and play for fun.
Fair enough. And that always could change if you find yourself getting addicted to it and end up learning.
Yeah, that could.
Yeah.
Always
yeah.
good. Always good.
For sure. All right, man. It's been a blast. Thank you so much, dude. And we will catch you in the next one.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. And I hope you and their community have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace, y'all. All right. I ended the recording. Thank you so much again, dude. That was a blast. What are you up to now?
Thank you.
You gonna stream, play some games?
I'm heading out for a friend's birthday party in about an hour. So I'm gonna try to see what I can do in terms of making some YouTube content within that hour. Probably won't be able to finish anything, but at least get started for when I get back. I can finish it up.
Okay, dope. Well, good luck with that. Have fun at the party, and I'll probably export this in the next day or so. So I'll make sure to send you a link, and if you want to, share it to your community, that would be awesome.
For sure, definitely, will do.
All right, bro. Good talking. Take care.
Yep. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Peace, bro. All right, guys. We did it. We did the podcast. Is anybody still listening? Anybody still hanging out? It says we have quite a few people in the stream. So I want to, first of all, thank you so much for hanging out and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Passive Tree podcast. It was definitely really cool. Oh, yo, what up, last protagonist? What's good, bro? Hold on, let me make But yeah, like it was cool just hanging out, talking with Miso, especially about Maple Story. Like, I don't know, I love Maple Story so much. I still listen to the soundtrack to that game all the time. Like it's just such a comfort thing for me. Yeah, what up, Schwingy? Welcome in, man. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Yeah, Miso is super nice. Um, and yeah, it was just rad just chatting with him about. I didn't expect to get into the discussion about Korean MMOs so much, but I probably should have, knowing that a lot of his content was based off of like Lost Ark, Maple Story, and stuff like that. So it was actually really cool to hear his perspective on why those games aren't like as successful in North America. It's so obvious, but it was cool to hear him sort of like break that down. Awesome yappings. Yo, thank you, man. I hope you enjoyed casual. It was a really good chat. All right, guys, I'm going to go and get some Kerning City. Dude, Kerning City's a banger. Yo, Schwing, I'm excited to I actually want to message you because I have like this video that I'm working on and it's more narrative based. So we'll love to like bounce some ideas off your head. Sort of like in a different conversation. Maybe if you're into that. If you're into that, that'd be cool. Since you're like the pro at narrative stuff. But it is inspired partially by your comments that you left on the Off Meta Michael podcast, where you talked about how me and him would like playing Path of Exile if we gave it a chance. So I think that's what I'm going to do for 3.26, just to give you sort of a little bit of a preview. So I don't know if you were listening to the whole podcast, but I definitely talked about it with Miso, where because I've never played before, I think I have a very specific, unique perspective on Path of Exile 1, where I've never played, but I've played 1,000 hours of Path of Exile 2. You know, I'm ranked whatever 100 on HCSSF, but it made me curious about what I'm missing out on in Path of Exile. So what I want to do is I want to go into 3.26 completely blind and try to basically get through certain milestones, like beat the campaign, get to a certain map tier, ascend, interact with the Atlas, Secret of the Atlas stuff. I also haven't watched the Secret of the Atlas trailer. Oh, no worries, dude. Yeah, so then it's perfect that I'm explaining this again. I'm glad I'm not explaining this a second time around. You're like, shut up, Blaze. I already know what you're gonna say. But anyway, so yeah, I basically purposefully tried to not look at anything. Like I haven't watched the Secrets of the Atlas at all. I have no idea what's happening there. I haven't watched any build guides. I haven't even watched like my homies' content, like Try's stuff or whoever's been making stuff about 3.26, because I want to just go into it as blind as possible and tell that story. The story of basically a PoE2 Andy trying to play PoE1 and do what he couldn't before. The new league mechanic will be kind of mind-blowing if you think about it in the context of PoE2. Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. I mean, I don't know what the heck it is. So please don't spoil it for me. But I feel like what's going to happen is there's going to be an interesting sort of plot where I, of course, struggle with learning the mechanics and learning the tree and learning all this stuff. But hopefully that gets overcome. And hopefully I just learn to love the game. And I think that will happen eventually. It's just going to be interesting to do that on my own knowledge. Like I don't want to look for external resources because that's not how I interacted with PoE2. PoE2 and PoE1, like the way that I'm going into PoE1 is the way that I went into PoE2, where it was like homebrew, seeing how far I could get just playing the game and learning the game while staying in the game. That's going to be a very cool video. Okay, nice. Okay, if you think that's going to be good, I've been cooking this, man. I already have my script like sort of locked in. I got my hook locked in, so I'd love to sort of bounce off some ideas with you, like in private. I think it's a great idea because it is a unique perspective, but I don't think that it's a perspective that no one has. I think that there are quite a few people, even that I know personally, that have never played PoE1 but played a shit ton of PoE2. So I know that there's people out there that are going to be able to like relate to this. You know what I mean? So I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of work, as you know, Schwingy, with your videos. You have to play the game so much and then edit and everything. But I think that from what I've sort of found, yo, Black Lotus, you just missed the pod, dude. It literally just ended. You can watch the VOD if you're really thirsty for more pod content, or you can wait till tomorrow and I'll upload it tomorrow. I think it's a cool idea, but I would recommend not stopping yourself, at least using the wiki, since the game info is quite limited and sometimes wrong. Yeah, it should be quite relatable. Fair enough. Okay, yeah, I think I need to include that as well. The wiki isn't necessarily telling me what to do, it's just explaining things in more depth than the game. Daniel, rewind. Yeah, go for it, bro. I hope you enjoy, man. Yeah, I think that the wiki would be a good thing to include. That's a good suggestion because, again, I don't know what I'm walking into, right? Like, I just don't know. I don't know how much they explain or don't explain things, so we'll find out. I feel like I'll try my best to not have to use that, and then I'm sure that there's going to be a point that I get to where I'm like, okay, I gotta use the wiki now. Does that make sense? It's just to look things up when you're lost in terms of build progression is all. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm excited. Like, I have this like weird like butterfly in my stomach from just like getting stoked to play PoE 1. And it is literally just because I've been enjoying PoE 2 so much that like it's gotten me curious now about what I've been missing out on. But I really want to come from I really want to like, do you think it would be a good idea to analyze the two games and compare, sort of like I did with Diablo 2 and Path of Exile 2? Because I think that that is something that I want to include in the video as well, where I'm, looking at the new player experience, onboarding, how the movement feels, everything, crafting, endgame, blah 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 blah. Like, I have such an in-depth like level of knowledge about everything in PoE 2 now that I think I can apply that pretty well to Path of Exile 1, and I think that will create some intrigue because you know how the landscape is. People love debating about the two games and have very vocal opinions about which game does what thing better and stuff like that. So I think if I can just share my own 2 cents, it'd be interesting. Maybe, maybe not. Oh, that was such a good podcast, though, guys. Miso was rad. 2 cents, it'd be. Oh. But yeah, so my plan now is to go and eat Chinese food with my mom. We want some like fried rice, General Tao chicken. Good to reanalyze things. I think so, right? Casual. Like, I think not everybody, but I think a lot of people will um think that I guess it depends on where I land with my opinion on Path of Exile. Like, I have a very strong feeling that I'm going to love it, but it's going to take time. Like, that's what everyone says. So that's kind of been programmed in my brain now where I'm like, if I play this game enough, like probably about 100 hours or so, it will get to the point where I just love it. Nice. You had some stir fry yourself. Did you make it or did you order out? Because yeah, there's this place. So I'm staying at my mom's right now. There's this place. I actually grew up in this town too, so I'm kind of like in my hometown. That's been there for decades. That does like just like the classic greasy Chinese food spot, chicken balls, fried rice, all that jazz. So I'm gonna go order some takeout and pick some up for me and my mom. Eat some dinner, and then maybe play some games. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up the stream now, guys. Kind of 50-50 is pre-made Patrick. Did you cook? Oh, okay, that works. Yo, last protagonist. Also want to say thanks again for like coming in, lurking. It's been always cool seeing you in the chat. So I hope that you enjoyed the podcast if you were here. If not, it should be uploaded by tomorrow. So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great night, and thank you so much. The Chinese food? Yes, sir. All right, guys. Take care. Peace out.